Hello and welcome to another episode of the show. And I have Laura Hope with me.
Surprise, surprise.
And yeah, I doubt anyone's listening to this live because it's such a beautiful day outside.
Yes, I hope to God people aren't. I hope they're out there chasing butterflies and stuff.
And we spent 3 hours inside to then come out the cinema because we went to see the Avengers, and now we're going to spend another 2 hours inside because we're going to tell you how it was and what we thought.
Yeah, I think we should go to the park after. Like gamble around.
So yes, Avengers.
Yes.
The movie that we've all been waiting for the last 10 years, essentially.
And we didn't even know it. Yeah, and obviously, spoilers, I guess.
Oh, this is going to be like a
spoiler-ridden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
It'd be really funny if we tried to do it spoiler-free and just were like, and then that thing happened to that guy. Oh, yeah.
So that guy turned up, and then there was like loads of other guys.
Yeah.
And then there was one girl, and she didn't do much until a bunch of other girls came together, and then they did something together.
They did, actually. It was cool. I liked it. Yeah.
That sounds very ominous, actually.
It does. Yeah, it does. Or like pornographic, maybe, but it was good.
So
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
We decided to check how long the movie was before we started watching.
And it's a good thing we did, because otherwise we'd have thought we'd time traveled, because it's like close to 3 hours long. It's 2 hours 40, I think, about.
But we both agreed at the start that this movie needs that length of time to show what, essentially to round off in a sense what we've seen over the last 10 years, obviously. And well, they didn't really round much out,
no,
but yeah, we
totally pulled the rug out from under us, but they made me like it, the bastards.
So yeah, like the intro, obviously going into the movie, you didn't know much about Thanos.
No, you know more about the background by far than I do.
Yeah, like I've read comics. I know roughly what the whole story is about.
And I have read comics, but only my dad's old ones, so they only go up until about the mid-1960s, so I don't know anything that happened in the MCU after that.
She's only ever read Aquaman. No. The Submariner.
The Submariner. My secret favorite superhero is Namor the Submariner.
That's no one's
He's
favorite.
like a cross between Mr. Spock and like the badass Aquaman. It's
Mr.
good.
Spock.
Mr. Spock. My spirit animal.
Dear Mr. Spock.
Dear Mr. Spock.
That sounds like a movie title in itself.
Yeah, I could name my biopic that. Yeah.
Or you could be like, that the independent movie where the girl is in a cult and she thinks that by listening to a cassette tape, she thinks she's pregnant through listening to it. So you probably thought you were pregnant to Spock by watching
Star Trek. Too much Star Trek. I don't think I thought that.
I have half Klingon, half human inside me. Well, it'd be a quarter, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be a quarter Vulcan and 3/4 human.
Yeah.
If I'm human, that's a big assumption.
Okay, we're detracting, but yeah, so you didn't know too much about Thanos going into this. And they didn't really delve too deep into his kids. I think they're supposed to be his kids in the comic books or some of the cartoon movies.
You mean the creeps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were essentially just minions, I guess, in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't really... Although they refer to themselves as the children of Thanos, but I read that as just being like a cult. Yeah, basically. And they're...
Welcome to the cult of Thanos.
Thanos, yeah. I really like them. They were creepy as heck.
Yeah.
But they managed to give each of them kind of enough of a personality.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of them more than others. But I thought they were wonderfully sinister. I think like we've been comparing it to the Justice League film a lot. Very much in the favor of Avengers. Because just like the bad guy aspect of it, the Thanos aspect, without having any of his backstory, he was so much more kind of magnetic and believable and threatening than the Steppenwolf.
First of all, straight out the bat, Thanos is more believable. Like we're saying, compared to what was his name?
Steppenwolf. Yeah,
and he was a completely CGI'd monster as well.
Yeah, they're technically the same.
And night and day.
Yeah,
like literal night and day, and compared to just the depth and character as well, and even the CGI was amazing.
Yeah, like oh my gosh, there was a scene and you could see little sort of down on Thanos's face, like a little just like bit of hair, like the way a human would have. It was amazing. It was just like the level of detail compared to like Steppenwolf. You're never able to invest in him being a real character. Whereas I forgot
his name, so that's how,
yeah, exactly. I just remember because I liked it, but yeah, Thanos. He has like a real physical gravity to him. And he like his emotions come across well, which I think is really hard with CGI. They're not like cartoonish.
It seems like they learned, I don't know how far along they were into the movie in terms of them making this one, when they'd seen Justice League. Yeah.
So
I think they maybe took what was wrong with that one and made sure that wasn't something that was going to happen in this movie. Because you really do feel like they fleshed out Thanos.
Oh yeah, he was great. And just like psychologically, like his motivation and stuff, it feels relatively believable. Like, you know, you have these bad guys who are like, I'm going to destroy the universe. And you're like, but why? Whereas he has this sort of fixation. It's like, it's weird because it's not logical. Like, he's clearly kind of an insane person, but his sanity it works for. Like, it works in the rules of his universe for him, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that is always a downfall with baddies, that you just don't understand where they're coming from or why they're doing this.
Yeah.
And you get a real sense of that in this movie, that Thanos is doing this because he genuinely believes in his cause. Like, if he has a cause, I guess.
And a lot of times villains with that type of motivation, they're sort of it's often something that's like religious or something like that. And usually they're deeply boring and uncharismatic. They're just like scary because they have conviction, basically.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting the way they kind of plan that out.
Josh Brolin as well did an amazing job. Oh God,
he
with
killed
this part.
it. Yeah, totally.
You don't even think it's him, but he has the perfect voice for it.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah, because it's quite like human. Like his voice is quite like animated in a way. He's not doing it just like straight up, kind of, because that gets silly at a certain point if it's just like too serious. Yeah.
And I wonder if they actually used Josh Brolin's face to be CGI'd onto
I think they
Thanos.
Must have done some sort of mapping or something. I don't know.
Because he does have quite a characterful face as well.
He sure does, yeah. And he's got, a strong jaw. Not that
Are
strong.
Are you talking about Thanos or?
Josh Brolin has a human scale strong jaw. Thanos has like a galactic jaw.
Well, not even. Like, Josh Brolin is tiny as well, but he has like a...
Is he?
Yeah,
is he
he's
wee?
like... I think he's smaller than you, maybe.
Really? That's so funny.
Let's figure this out.
Because
I always thought he was really tall, because when I watched Goonies, he was the teenage brother who was in Goonies, and he always looked like so massive, and he always like worked out. And I seen him. What did I see him in? And he was like, "Oh, this guy's tiny."
I always thought he was like 6 feet tall, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like, let's see, just to make sure. This will be interesting.
It'd be very funny.
So he's 1.78 meters. I don't know what that is.
Let's do a quick conversion.
He's 50-year-old as well.
Yeah, that seems about right at this point.
He is 5'10". My arse. There's no way he's 5'10".
I think it's like, what's the Hollywood rule? It's like -2 inches or something. But I don't know. 5'10". Well, maybe he was in a film with a bunch of monsters. Maybe they were all like 6'3", and he just looked like a widget.
There's no way that's right. He is a small guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's funny. I think he's going to maybe hear this and take offense and come fight you.
As Thanos or Cable.
Hopefully not as either of those. Yeah. We did see, sidetrack, but we saw a Deadpool trailer when we were waiting.
Yeah. Is that the first time you'd seen that full one?
Yeah, I haven't seen that trailer.
The newest, like the full second one.
No, I haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, oh my God, he looks amazing as Cable. It's going to be really good.
I know.
Yeah.
And supposedly just like did a lot of working out for this, because he had to get buff in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's probably using some Mexican supplements.
Some multivitamins.
Tijuana supplements.
Get some old shark cartilage injected into his eyeballs and stuff like that. Whatever they do these days.
He does have shark eyes, though.
He does actually have shark eyes. Yeah. As a possessor of shark eyes, I can recognize my brethren.
And like he says, he cut out sugar. That was a big part of it as well. And he said for the first like week or so, he just felt like death.
Yeah.
And then when he stopped, it was just he lost a lot of weight as well.
Yeah, sugar's like crack. Like, it's just insanely addictive.
Of course, yeah.
And refined sugar is just basically totally unnecessary in your diet. I get like using it like a drug when you're like, my blood sugar is crashing, and you need like a quick whoop. But
so warm in here, by the way. like it's crazy warm.
Yeah, which is unusual in this plot, as you know. Yeah, we finally got something approximating a summer in Edinburgh.
So what did you expect of this movie when you went in?
Oh my God! Well, the big question, of course, is who are they going to kill?
Yeah. I think that was the one on everyone's lips.
Yeah,
because we knew that was a probability and a possibility that most people were going to die, and
not something they do lightly in the Marvel universe, partly because it's geared somewhat toward kids, and also partly because they've managed to create a bunch of really well-loved characters, and it's a big deal. People are going to be upset no matter who they kill off, except for like the Falcon and Jeremy Renner. Don't really care.
Where was he? I thought like he was supposed to be in this one.
They had some weird throwaway line about how they were like under house arrest or something, and I was like, good, cool, keep him there.
There's a bunch of aliens coming down from the sky, and you're under house arrest.
Yeah. And I was just imagining some sort of scenario where Hawkeye would somehow save the day, and it was like, oh, it's not gonna happen.
I don't think in any, maybe in one of the there is a clip in the movie where Doctor Strange goes through all the alternative realities to figure out how many times they win out of all the times that Thanos wins. Yeah. And he came up with one out of like, it was like 14 million
in a bunch. Yeah.
Maybe that's when the one was when the was it Hawkeye comes in and like saves everyone.
And he's like probably through some sort of like butterfly effect, just like accidental thing, like he trips and hits a button, and I don't know. But
there's some sunglasses on that cause an earthquake in Wakanda.
So it turns out the answer to who are they going to kill was most people. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to stick.
No.
They're not going to be all dead.
Like you say, obviously, in the movie, there's the scene which is a famous picture from one of the comics when Thanos snaps his fingers.
Oh, yeah, and everything.
And this is where the premise of the movie is based on. And he essentially, I keep saying that, essentially, he snaps like the rest of existence, like for half of the population of the universe, just into nothing, so they disappear. Yeah, and
just creepy.
Even that moment in the movie was epic.
Yeah,
like there was like a dread and a feeling of like, like he's done something by snapping his fingers.
Yeah, and you usually superhero films don't usually let you get to that point. It's usually like at the 11th hour. Yeah, it all gets sorted out somehow. It looks like the villain's going to win, but he doesn't. But in this one, it looks like the villain's going to win because he has won at this point. And just immediately you're like, they're not, surely not. And just about half of all the characters just crumble.
As you say, I believe it. I know this. Well, yeah, you too. It's not a coughing matter.
Please excuse me.
Drink your water.
I'm drinking my beer. I assume that when Doctor Strange did his thing, Doctor Strangelove, did his alternative reality spelunking, that because he's the one who chose to give the time stone up. Because when he was like, we'll trade this to save Tony Stark's life, and I was like, he doesn't give a shit. Like, that wouldn't be what happened. So he's seen that that's going to lead to some outcome. Yeah. But I don't know what it is. Yeah. And now he's, a pile of coffee grounds. So
the kind of the terrible part, this is something that they tread very well in a movie, is when you have something as all powerful as the gauntlet and with all the gems, it can become quite ridiculous and fantastical, but they still kept it grounded. Like, he still had to fight with the gauntlet. Yeah. Like, he had to direct it at, whoever it was, and he had to use it, and he could still be sort of hit and beat and sort of beat down to where he had to, like, really, really try to get out of those situations. And it's not just, like, an absurdly over-the-top, powerful, gauntlet.
Yeah, I thought
it is, but they've treaded the line very well in the movie.
Yeah, I think a really good line between there's no point fighting him and there's almost no point fighting him. Like, he is fightable, but it's just hard to see that he won't eventually always overpower them, between being just like physically huge and super strong and then having the power of the stones like that. I think generally for villains as well, they usually choose that they're a mind person or a body person. You don't normally get both. You either get someone who's like too big to beat up, or you get somebody who's too smart to beat up, but he's kind of both.
There's a few like throwaway lines that he said that was brilliant, and it was when he was fighting Iron Man, and he was like Tony Stark, and he was like, "You're not the only person cursed with by knowing everything or intelligence." And I thought it was like a brilliant line.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was just to remind us that he is like a super genius as well.
Yeah, it's scary. It's like he's properly scary, and then the fact that like he, in some ways, other than being like having an insane interpretation of like how the universe should be handled, pretty much in terms of his, it's basically like, it's kind of like the Republican approach, which is like resources are too scarce, so we're gonna have to just let some people go.
Right.
But some people is half of all of people everywhere, which is quite a lot of people.
Think of the amount of people that died due to those people disappearing. So imagine you're on an airplane.
Yeah,
and then
your
the
pilot
just, or both your pilots disappear.
Yeah, you're in surgery.
So it's not like clean and surgical and the way he thinks of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's like just at complete random, and it's the most humane way for people to get rid of, you know, like half the population of the universe. Yeah. But there's going to be a lot of people that die because of that. Because
that's like theoretically, you know, half of all doctors as well, and like half of all people who are currently driving vehicles or airplanes and
Ubers.
Yeah, half of all Ubers.
all those Uber guys deserve to go.
Oh, when have you ever taken an Uber?
That was a London taxi driver that said that to me. That they should all die.
They should all. They're like, I can't really get behind this Thanos character except for the Uber drivers.
All the Uber drivers.
Yeah. Snap.
Yes.
Yeah, but I like the way that like the Thanos character, he's like, he doesn't in some way seem like such a bad guy. Like he's not like malicious other than being totally insane.
Yeah, you're one of these people that probably saw Hitler and was like, he's not.
Oh,
he's not,
come on.
He's not
no,
great,
but what I'm trying to say is like
guy.
he doesn't seem gratuitously evil. He just like his central cause is super evil, but he's not doing it because he hates people or anything. He thinks he's doing the right thing. But then his cronies or his children or whatever are so creepy. Yeah. Like they're such creepsters. Like it's so demonic. And I think that's a nice kind of tension there.
I was a bit disheartened. Not disheartened. That's probably too strong a word. Words. I wish that they'd kept his children on just a bit longer. Yeah. Well,
I wonder if they'll be back as well.
Possibly.
I imagine he would like bring them back. Like he can do that now, presumably.
But does he care about them really? You know?
I don't know. That's a good question.
The only thing that he did care about, he destroyed already. So
yeah, that's true.
And Gamora.
Yeah.
And every time I hear Gamora, I always want to go,
Sodom. Yeah. It's an interesting name. I thought they handled like their kind of relationship in an interesting way. Yeah, I thought like honestly, I thought it was pretty much perfect in terms of the film. I don't think there was anything.
Towards the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, this is pretty much a perfect Marvel movie.
Yeah. They integrated all that, we were talking about this earlier, but all the different kind of branches of the Marvel story have sort of slightly different tones and aesthetics and stuff like if you compare like Spider-Man Homecoming to like Civil War or something, you're like, even though there's overlap, obviously they just have different tones and different kind of scales. And compare Guardians of the Galaxy and the way they handle like soundtracks and color palettes and everything is different. And I thought they integrated all of that really well. Like they used music really well. Visually it was amazing. Like I loved the visual flavor of the Doctor Strange film and the way magic works in that, like how kind of like MC Escher kind of patterns and fractals, and I thought they incorporated that well.
Just you got to take your hat off to the people that edited this movie.
Oh God!
I mean, the amount of material that they had to work with, to get it down to something that's so fluid and connective, and it has everything. It makes complete sense as well when you watch it.
I think so. Yeah, there was nothing to me that was like,
you're like, oh, why are they going there? Why is this just suddenly this? You know, but it worked. It's such a smooth movie in terms of editing and the story.
I think so, and the acting's great. I love the character mix and match, like different characters from different kind of sections meeting each other, but they didn't dwell on that too much. It wasn't too fan servicey. I think it could have gotten out of control.
We have to talk about Thor.
That was like
Groot and Rocket as well. That was such a great threesome.
Team up.
Team up. It was brilliant.
I thought they let it go when those guys, the Guardians of the Galaxies, galaxies, whichever, first encounter Thor, I thought that was almost kind of meta, kind of thinking about the fan serviciness that it could extend to, because it was just basically all of them being like, he's a golden god, oh my god, like, oh, look at his muscles, oh,
even Drax, is it Drax? Yeah.
Drax was like,
he's like a golden pirate angel.
Yeah, he said like it's like angel. A pirate and an angel had a baby or something. And of course, Star-Lord wasn't having any of it. I thought that was sort of like them nodding to the fact that they knew that stuff could get out of hand in a way.
That the whole scene inside the ship when Thor landed on the front was it was amazing. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. I like that. And it's just knowing how much to do and when to reel it back.
Yeah.
They could go completely overboard. I think a lot of people felt like that maybe with Ragnarok, that it was just a bit too much to begin with, like, you know, at the start.
At first, and I agree, at first I was like, is it going to be like this the whole time? Like when he's making all the jokes and stuff, when he's like, whatever, he's in a net or something. He didn't
make that many jokes, Thor. He, like in this one,
no,
he just played, obviously he's like the deadpan and everyone else makes the jokes round him usually, and that wasn't the same in Ragnarok because he had to support the movie himself, so he had to be the comedy,
generate some jokes, and he was like talking to the camera. And at first I was like, this is gonna get a little tedious, but
no, it was brilliant though.
I think it was a really good balance of like, there was a lot of humor in it, which is really necessary, and they also let it get, I think, really dark, but without it getting like knocked down, drag out like DC dark. It was more like psychological as opposed to just like brutal.
Yeah.
Like I think of like I can't remember which of the Spider-Man films it is, but one of the first round with Tobey Maguire, and when he fights the Green Goblin, and you're like, oh, this does not belong in this universe. No. Like this isn't how these characters, this isn't the type of thing these characters experience, and it comes across as just brutal and gratuitous.
Yeah, the first one's quite dark as well. I remember the bit where it's the fair, you know, the parade, and you just Spider-Man's there, and all you can hear is like a jet engine in the background.
Yeah.
And obviously it sounds quite like dark and sinister, because it's just this droning noise, and you know it's coming from like the background.
Yeah, and it's just like, and it's New York, so there's always this kind of like post 9/11 but I thought in this, just to finish that thought off, they made it like, it was messed up and sad, but in a way that fits in with the severity of the challenge they're facing. Not gratuitous or
at some points.
Super dark.
It got really dark at some points.
But without being like, without trying to be gritty, I guess that's the thing. And I'm pretty sure again they'll have looked at DC and been like, okay, well, let's not be a huge bummer, but let's try and connect with people like psychologically as well.
You can't show the possible end of the world without anyone dying or you know, some sort of violence as well. Like you need to show something pretty hard.
And it was pretty violent for a Marvel film. I thought like the scene when Loki dies, whether or not that sticks as well. Like he's like bleeding out of his eyeballs. Like, oh my god, this is a 12A film. Like what? Is that
a Canadian rating or something?
12A. That's actually funny because Canada has 14A, and I think America doesn't have that. So it's like, yeah, it's 14A.
They don't take to your rating systems up the north of the border.
No. We just let our 14-year-olds see everything. It's fine.
So what would you say was your top 3 moments in this movie?
Ooh, ouch. Well, I really like when they went to Wakanda, just because I love Wakanda, and they do a really good thing with the soundtrack and that. And you're like, we're gonna see Shuri, and it's gonna be great, but it all goes downhill really quickly.
Of course.
I like that. What else did I like? When Thor gets his axe, I like that. And you don't really see it happen. Like you just see his hand kind of tremble, and then the axe kind of, and then suddenly he's on Earth and he's kicking ass. I like that. What else stands up? Well, I always really like the Doctor Strange magic. I love the way they show that just visually. But I also really like when they're in Edinburgh, because that's really cool. And you see Captain America in Waverly Station. I love that moment. I was like, and then he's got like a beard. He looks all sort of frazzled. I'm like, I love that scene. That was great.
Talking about the bit with Thor coming in and starting kicking ass on Earth.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a feeling of like a release of tension for him, because the whole of Ragnarok, he's sort of been beaten down. He's lost everything, and he doesn't really get like is revenge really? And
No.
at the end of it, it's not real, because his people have been dispersed across the universe, and eventually he's like, Thanos finds him, and that's the start of this movie, and they're all dead.
Yeah.
But when he has his axe,
Yeah,
and he's just like
and it's
kicking
like,
ass on Earth,
got his mojo back.
it was
Yeah.
like a feeling of relief. It's like, oh, Thor's
here. Yeah, he showed up. Yeah, because they sort of do that at the end of Thor Ragnarok, but it's not unmixed either, because like he's fighting his sister, that like sucks, and
it's all within himself. It's not an external sort of weapon really. It's just what
he's
himself.
just like turned into a lightning bug.
Yeah.
But he hasn't quite got his, and he's like just emerged from this ordeal, and he's lost his eye, and he's lost his hairdo, and you know, a fair bit of his probably personal dignity, having been a whatever weird sexy gladiator for a little bit.
But he was great in these scenes, like especially when they were forging his axe.
That was great. I love the giant dwarf. That was brilliant, because it's not like dwarves are so important in Norse mythology, but they're always like the badasses who do stuff like that. And I was like, are we talking about little garden gnomes here, or what's going on? And then they have a wonderful cameo from Peter Dinklage as a giant dwarf.
I just assumed that they were going to portray them in like all movies we've seen, like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they're wee. Yeah,
all these fantasy ones, like a dwarf is called a dwarf because
he's wee and dirty. Yeah.
But in this, it was just amazing that they had Peter Dinklage as a massive dwarf.
It was just wonderful. You're like, so that's how those dudes like make this crazy stuff. Like I just loved that. It was great.
He didn't really do much though. Like I thought there was going to be like a montage where he's like hammering stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's such a cliche though, you know. I guess also he didn't have hands anymore, so.
Well, why did he need them in the first place?
For holding stuff.
What?
Things you're hammering things with, and hammers.
He didn't need his hands when he was forging the best weapon
but he couldn't
of all of the universe.
He couldn't have hammered it.
Well, he could. He had like metal hands.
He did, but they don't like bend. You have to hold it in his teeth. He could have hammered it with his hands, I guess.
Or his big head.
There's a joke on 30 Rock that, you know, the American, he's like I don't know, he's a guy who ends up in the news a lot, some sort of, I don't know if he's an anchor or what he is, but Wolf Blitzer was the most badass name ever. But the joke is that that's actually a pseudonym and his real name is Steel Hammerhands. And they thought that was too unrelatable, basically. So they toned it down a bit and called him Wolf Blitzer.
Steel Hammerhands is
Steel
brilliant.
Hammerhands. I like that. Yeah.
So you think this is him, the dwarf?
Yeah, Steel Hammerhands.
But yeah, that was a brilliant touch. I couldn't stop laughing when I saw Peter Dinklage as
because it's just genius. It's genius. They did something to his voice as well. Like, did they slow it down? Like, it was deeper. It was weird.
Or he could have just done it himself.
Just done a really deep voice. Yeah.
It's like, oh.
It reminded me of when we listened to Kill Tony, and I like to slow down Brian Redban's voice at the beginning because he sounds really drunk. Because he can't say a lot of words. Yeah. He can't say the word world, which is quite funny. Word.
And that was a brilliant scene, seeing Peter Dinklage as maybe like a 10-foot, 12-foot dwarf. Yeah,
it was hard to get, like, it was confusing for scale because
the dwarf's that big, is he still a dwarf?
He's just a big dwarf. We don't know what size the other people are or whatever, or that's just...
Because being a dwarf is a medical condition. It's not just the height.
It's not just that you're wee. Yeah, it's like a specific thing. But
you could be a massive dwarf, but your limbs are sort of small compared to your body.
I don't think that tends to happen too much, though.
Why not?
I don't know. For medical reasons. I don't know. It's hard to get a scale also because, like, there's Thor there, but then there's the raccoon, and who knows how tall he is, and then there's a tree, and who knows, he's a teenage tree, so he's not like a super...
Groot was brilliant.
So sassy.
I feel like we didn't get enough of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on purpose because he's going through that kind of moody teenage years.
Yeah.
He's playing like a game the whole way through the movie.
Yeah, basically. I think also they went slightly too hard on how much people like Groot and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I think they were a little too fan servicey on that one, so maybe they reeled it in a little bit.
Did you feel like that was a thing in the second one?
Yeah, I think a lot of the second one, I think they had difficulty navigating it being super easy to do things they knew fans would like.
Yeah.
And I think they maybe fell into that trap slightly too much. But it's also like they're funny films and they're supposed to be. So why not use the resources you have? But I think that they did go a little too hard on Baby Groot. Because it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's like everybody's favorite character. And he's a baby. So he's cute.
But as we found out from the director a couple of weeks ago, he's not actually Groot.
No?
No,
I didn't find this out.
Did you
Why
not
didn't
hear
anyone
about
tell
this?
me? No.
He's not Groot.
I've been busy. What is he?
He's like his son or something. It's not actually him.
They're all Groot. Are they not all Groot?
No, it's a different person.
Well, maybe it's like fungi. We're just thinking of personhood in a human-centric way. And he's actually
Let's see.
himself.
Because it was a fan theory for a long time, and they put it forward to the director, and he answered it saying, yes, it is not Groot. It's like a baby one of him.
Well, I think that is an overly anthropocentric concept of self, and I reject it.
You're a blah, 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 blah.
Nope, I'm a mushroom.
So the director says baby Groot is not the same person as original Groot, says director.
Well, what does Groot say? Groot says, I am Groot, so fuck him.
Okay.
That was funny.
He became an infant version of his previous self, losing all memory of who he was in the process, though we were left to believe that he made it out alive. Apparently, most of us felt wrong. I hate that we need to talk about this, but here we are in 2018 having a heartbreaking discussion about whether baby Groot is the same Groot that we've met. And director James Gunn tweeted, "First Groot is dead. Baby Groot is his son."
Well, James Gunn is gonna break some hearts.
Well, he doesn't know how biology works either, because
Yeah.
kind of need some other
Yeah,
process.
you at least need a girl tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's all the girl Groots?
Yeah.
So we do know it is a race, though.
Yeah, because we learned that Thor speaks Groot
He
because they
does.
teach it in Asgard. It's an elective.
That was brilliant.
That was really, really funny. That was good. I like that.
But why does Groot speak every other language but doesn't speak their language? Because he speaks to them and understands what they're saying back to him.
Yeah.
Why is that? Like, Groot understands what everyone's saying.
Maybe it's not a language thing. Maybe it's some sort of empathetic thing or something. He's an alien tree man. We can't be too
Because everyone says, "Oh yes, that's what you said, baby Groot," and then says something back to him, and then he replies.
understands. Yeah. I don't know.
What's that?
They can understand him and he can understand them.
Yeah.
But he can't speak it. I don't know. I can like read Italian, but I can't speak it.
But that's because you took Latin.
Yeah, partly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can read Latin, but I can't speak it. How's that one?
I don't think anyone can.
All I can say is my head is on my shoulders.
I can't speak Latin either.
That sounded like it was going to be a song. I was getting really excited. It
down.
sounded like it was going to be Electric Avenue.
Electric Avenue. And that was Latin for something. You tell me, because you understand Latin.
That was Latin for I am a delightful podcast host.
Why, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
You talking about
hey,
me
I
or
didn't
you?
say it. The Latin said it. I'm talking about you. Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day when I say you are my sometimes co-host.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because I don't co-host anyone else with you.
Yeah.
I'm just like.
But if I said you were my co-hostess, would that mean I was also a girl? So you're co to me? Like, how would it work? If I said you're my co-hostess,
I don't think we need to gender hosting. I'm happy enough to be a host.
Would that mean I'm a girl, which you're coing to? Would that be the preset? Or is being a hostess just...
I think hostess is a dated word anyway.
No,
you can just say
dated
host. It's
word
like
anyway.
actor, actress. Say actor. Say I'm your colleague.
You
colleague.
My
Conspirator.
person.
Pilot? Co-pilot?
My heterosexual life mate.
Ew.
That means there is no funky business going on. And yes, I call sex funky business.
Funky business. Wow.
So ladies, if anybody wants any funky business.
Funky town.
No, funky business. It's different.
But you do funky business
No.
in Funky Town.
No.
That's where you
different.
do funky business.
I don't want to get copyright infringement law.
Oh yeah, we're going to get it.
I'm going to take you to
She
funky
Funky Town
business.
for 2 seconds and now we're getting sued by
gonna
the
take
gods
you-
of disco.
I'm going to take you to funky business.
Funky Business Town?
Yes. So bringing it back to Avengers.
Yes, and out of Funky Business Town.
Yeah, so your favorite moments were obviously Thor.
Yes, Thor plus axe. Also, axes are cool.
Yeah.
I like them. If I had to have a weapon, I would want an axe, I reckon.
Okay. Me too.
Yeah.
I'd have like a dual wielding axe. I'd have one in each hand. Because he's
Of course
Thor.
you would.
Because
Yeah.
he could probably
You
lift
could
3.
do that. Yeah.
He could lift 4 if
One
he
of his
wanted
teeth,
to.
like a rose.
No, just with his hands.
Yeah, just.
Or a double-ended.
Yeah, you
axe.
could do that. I feel like people who do that like lose chunks of their leg a lot. It's just like hard to keep your shit together.
That's why he has one eye.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Now he's got one of his and one of someone else's.
I thought they were going to keep that as like a thing. I don't know why.
Do you know what I had a sneaking suspicion is that it's expensive for them to edit it in post-production, and it was cheaper to just get him to wear a contact lens.
But I thought he wore something. It was a physical prop that he wore in his eye. Yeah, it's not like a.
Maybe it was annoying. Maybe that would be annoying,
but
right?
I thought maybe it's just as an actor to try and wield something with one eye.
I did think it was a practical decision in terms of either that or CGI. But it's cool. Yeah. It's also a weird one because like Odin is known for having one eye, so it's confusing.
But in the comic universe, he follows suit. I'm not sure what happens in Norse mythology.
I think he keeps his eyes in Norse mythology. Yeah.
In the Marvel universe, he does like lose one eye. I think all the fanboys might be screaming at me. No. He always keeps his eye. You fucking imbecile. Oh no.
No. I do think about that a lot. We often run into points on this when we're like, I can't quite remember how this worked. And then I know there's going to be somebody out there being like, you idiots. Because I always do that when I'm listening to podcasts.
Well, they're always loosely based on mythology, these type of characters. And then they kind of diverge and go into their own path.
Which is good because otherwise it would be really predictable.
Yeah.
And there's not like Thor in Norse mythology, he's like powerful and stuff, but he's not like actually super impressive personally. Right. Like he's like super impressive in terms of his strength, but he's not like smart. Smart.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be smart when you're handsome and have long locks and you're a fucking
lightning powers. God. Yeah, but there are other ones who are handsome and.
Name one.
Heimdall. Super cool.
Are you talking about in the Marvel universe or in the book?
Both. Like Heimdall was always my favorite.
Like it's a novel.
Yeah, in the one book of Norse mythology.
In the Norse mythology.
In the Norse mythology. He was always my favorite character in Norse mythology. Heimdall was.
No.
And then
you're just tagging on to the Marvel
no,
hype about
not
him.
True. Ask my parents.
Were you hipster on it?
Of course.
I like them
but
before
he's
it was cool.
He's a watchman and he's all like he's a lone wolf and it's cool.
We all are.
And then they made him Idris Elba and I was like, heck yeah.
He must be from the southern part of Asgard.
That's the biggest dad joke ever. It's like whenever I watch like sports with my dad and it's like, let's say we're watching like the World Cup and there's like a black player on the German team. My dad's like, he must be from southern Germany. And we all laugh.
And not in a sort of very racist way. Like your
it's
dad's
just like
one of the most sort of
unracist people ever. Yeah.
As a white privileged male can be.
Yes. As an ethnically ambiguous looking white privilege male.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could be Inuit, could be Mexican.
Yeah. Or
wolf boy.
Wolf boy.
Part wolf boy, part
Iraqi,
Mexican.
like Persian It used to be like when we used to go through, probably even more so before my time, go through like airport security when my dad was younger and still had like jet black hair as well. And it would just be like, he tells this story, but it's totally true. You can, as soon as security gets sight of him, they just snap on their gloves like, here we go.
I bet he was always like, here we go.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool as a cucumber.
Have you, obviously you're from Canada, obviously.
Yes.
And
or so I've led you to believe.
When we've been traveling, when we come back from these places to the UK, I go through the UK EU passport area, and you have to go through the separate one. Yeah. And it's crazy how long it takes sometimes.
Oh my God. It's because they usually only have one desk open, and usually they're having quite a chat with whoever it is. And it's also the desk they take through anybody who's like in a wheelchair or unaccompanied minors or flight crew. Yeah. So anytime any of those 3 previous groups are going through, you just wait in the queue until they're through. Like they let them first, which is fine. But
you just have to pretend to be disabled.
Yeah, just get a wheelchair. Yeah. Be cool. Yeah. I don't know. I think they probably take you to like
them.
Yet another even more terrifying queue if you're foreign and disabled, probably. Like
just try and count for them. They'll be like, this girl is definitely mentally retarded.
Oh, thank you. I can get to 4 without any difficulties. Thank you very much. But yeah, and it is like, especially if anybody's coming in for the first time on some sort of visa, they have to have all their paperwork. And
Yeah.
every time I go through, I get fingerprinted.
Really? Every single time?
Yeah. Well, like they have my fingerprints on file, so I get scanned.
Do you just go, that's mine?
Yeah, it's that one. Well, it sucks because I
don't have any fingerprints.
Well, yeah, I burnt one off for a while. It grew back. It makes me worry about stuff like that. No, because I hate going through there. Yeah. So my hands get sweaty and then it like won't scan.
You're like,
and you have to, like,
your hands like sliding.
Yeah, exactly. And like, can you put it on for the 38th time? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then also they say, can you put your right thumb? And like, I can't tell my right from my left anyway. Yes. And then it's after, say, a transatlantic flight and I'm completely blitzed and I just stare at my hands.
I don't think that would matter at all. You're just very weird when it comes to your left and your right.
It doesn't help.
Meh.
But yeah, it's
I'm a real human.
I'm real. I'm not wearing fake hands, so I can operate these. Yeah, so it'll be like a massive queue for the UK EU passport control, but everyone goes in like bish bash bosh, whereas there'll be 3 people ahead of me. But you know, there's like 5 minutes apiece plus, and it adds up.
Where was it we were coming back from or going to? But I think was it some German airport. It was like a shed we were in. Where was it? Was it when we were coming back from Berlin or going to Berlin? And basically, there was a long queue for you, like an extremely long queue.
Oh, it was when we went to Venice.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and it was, for the because it's a, non-EU passport thing. And oh my God. Yeah, and you were through... You didn't even have to talk to anybody. No. I think you just scanned yours.
I just looked at the guy and I was like, all right. And he was like, all right, mate. How's it going? And I was like,
was he Scottish?
Yeah, of course.
Right, pal.
It's like, how you doing, like, mate?
Ciao, ragazzo.
I was like, ciao, mate.
Ciao, mate. That sounds like chow mein, but wrong. And we were worried because your passport was pretty close to expiring at that point. You just had a few months on it. So I was really worried about you. And then you were through in like 2 seconds. And meanwhile, we had to wait. It was like 20 minutes probably. Okay. Which isn't a really long time in the grand scheme of things, but it was.
I think it was more the volume of people that were there, but still. It was,
well, they had like 2 desks open again, and they were like speaking to people kind of thing.
And it was a small airport, and I think there was a lot of people coming through that flight.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think another flight arrived at the same time that I think was from like a sort of overseas destination, like a non-EU or Schengen area one. So we were going through with a bunch of people who needed to go through the same thing.
Well, the solution is I have to get like a British girlfriend because I don't have to wait any longer at the airport. Oh. It's just terrible.
Let's see, your chances of dual citizenship gone though.
So if there's anybody out there that has a passport, it is British.
Wink.
Wink into the microphone. Not the camera.
Yeah. People used to offer to marry me a lot when I was like finishing up in Ireland. And I'd be like, yeah, I can't get a visa really.
Was that because of your visa or just because you're so popular when you were in college?
Oh, it's because I was really popular. No, it's because of my visa. Like
people just
opportunity for a
to marry me all the time.
Just willy-nilly. Yeah.
What happened to me? Not if you say that.
That happened, yeah. Or maybe that's what they're into. I don't know. That happened to me recently at work and it was like one of those super awkward things. I was chatting to a customer who was on his way out and he was like...
In life or just out there?
Both. I was talking about like, oh, you know, like there, I think he was asking, am I ever going to move back to Canada? And I was like, well, you know, if I can't, you know, get permanent residency because I'm not making £35,000 a year, then I might do it. He was like, oh, you know, I could just marry you. And I was like, okay, bye.
Yeah, you let your guard down and you let him know your plans. Don't do that.
I know.
Just
you
be
gotta
like,
chat.
I am British. I don't know what you're talking about. Bitch.
I'm from Britain. Convincingly.
I am a Breton.
Breton. I'm Brighton. Speaking of immigration stuff, but lots of fun times going on for the...
No, yeah, we've loosely talked about Avengers. Essentially, the roundup of Avengers was it was amazing, and if you haven't seen it and we've spoiled the fuck out of it for you,
too bad.
Go and see it because regardless of that, it's
really good. I thought it was brilliant. Yeah.
And there are some like amazing scenes in it.
Yeah, visually it was great. A lot of the action was great. Yeah, because there were a lot of times when they'd even just sort of what you're saying about the sort of reality relatively of Thanos' power. They'd just be like, if we can't like we can keep him from moving his hand, we can keep him from using his powers, basically. So a bunch of different ways of trying to do that, and it was really good. Really amazing visuals, like some of the different planets they're on.
And the pairings up with people obviously is just amazing. Like,
oh, it's such a good mix and match. I like that. They, like I said, they didn't go nuts with it. It wasn't like overboard, but you were just like excited for people to meet people. Tony Stark and Doctor Strange. That was great. I love when Spider-Man meets them and he's like, oh, I'm Peter, and Doctor Strange is like, Doctor Strange, and he's like, oh, we're using our made-up names. I'm Spider-Man. That was so funny.
I laughed so hard at that.
Yeah, me too. That was good. I like that.
So yeah, the roundup of Avengers it's amazing.
Yeah, go see it. Yeah, I think that's like a total, I think maybe one of the best of them, like as a culmination.
Would you say the best of the Avengers movies or the best Marvel movie?
I think it's verging on, it's hard because I'm already tied like probably 4 ways for my favorite Marvel movie, but I'd say it's equally on a footing of all those. It's hard because it does combine everything.
I think it edges just everything out because of the sort of the gravitas of it, and it's the culmination point for all these movies, you know.
Yeah, I think so. And I think like even films I really like a lot, Marvel ones, there's always a moment or two where I'm like, okay. Like I was thinking of like, I really like the first Avengers film, but the whole battle in New York, like I just don't like the Chitauri. I don't think they're interesting baddies. They're just like drones basically. So that whole thing I could pretty much skip.
But they seem to got away with that in this one.
Yeah.
Even though the aliens were still, I mean, the CGI was better and they seemed like really highly aggressive.
They were like scary and gross and demonic and mental. Yeah, because I
think there was already like higher sort of bad guys than them. They weren't the actual be all and end all.
No, they were like the foot soldiers, and it wasn't a case of like with the Chitauri, it's like they really sort of, it's just a sort of sheer numbers thing. Whereas with those guys, they were actually pretty threatening, but they still had the other big bads in the field with them as well. Because that was,
got them from,
I don't know, because the visuals were like, it was a bit like, especially because they're in Wakanda at that point. See, it looks sort of like a stampede of wildebeest or something, but they're kind of like demon dog like as well. They seemed like demonic, which fit to me with the sort of the children of Thanos. Like they seem just like hobgoblins and devils, and so it's fit in. I like how they managed to do that. Like I really like that. They were properly creepy, and they all had insanely creepy names as well.
And they were pretty
Obsidian
like violent
Maw.
and like when they were battling in Wakanda, they were super like quick and aggressive and and really violent. And when I was watching this, I was like the little kid to my left, and I was like,
I can't believe that film is 12A. Oh my god!
And some of those kids were under 12A.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you can come in with an adult still. Like it just can't come in unaccompanied. But oh my god, that's some nightmare fuel.
Yeah. But
like
they seemed like they weren't phased, so maybe that's just the norm for
kids these days, I guess.
Unless it doesn't have gratuitous blood and guts.
Ding ding ding, kids these days. Yeah, as long as you're not seeing anybody's like intestines or whatever. Because there's a fair bit of like language as well.
Yeah. When they call them like, who was it? A big green asshole.
Yeah. They did, because they managed to use sort of like creative crosses, so it wasn't just like,
Let's to quote Vice here. Let's talk about the lack of the Hulk.
Oh yeah.
Why do you think that was something that they chose to go along with?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like I feel like the Hulk in a few of the previous films has like come in and saved the day by being the Hulk, and it was interesting. And after he got,
but they didn't really have. Sorry, just to interject, just to sort of preface that as well. They didn't have him do that either in Ragnarok. Like he was in the Ragnarok the whole way through. Yeah, and there wasn't a moment where they were like, because there was a bit where he was going to fight the massive demon, and they were like, come on, like let's get going. Yeah, and I was like, I wanted to see the battle with him. And he fought, is it Fenrir? Yeah. The wolf. He fought. The wolf. And that was it. But it wasn't really crazy, though.
Yeah, but he was still like the one guy who could have fought Fenrir, just like in the story kind of thing, I guess. Whereas and I think also like at the beginning of the film, I think it was sort of like a thematic thing or whatever. Because at the beginning of the film, it seems like he's going to save the day and beat up Thanos, and he gets his ass handed to him.
It was amazing, though, just to see him. Like, I was like, no way they're going to have him go against Thanos
just like immediately, and they sort of fake you out, like he comes in hard and Thanos looks like he's kind of down for the count, and then he's just so not at all.
It was the line from the other Avengers movie when Loki is trying to destroy the world, and he's arguing with Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have an army, and he's like, we have a Hulk.
Yeah.
And he repeated that line in this movie.
We have a Hulk.
It was gold.
And then Hulk comes in kind of swinging, and then it's like, oh no. And I think probably like the Hulk's never really gotten beat up before, so I think he's kind of traumatized basically. I think he won't come out because he's scared.
Do you think that's probably it? Yeah.
I think that's it, and I think it's, I don't even know, like...
He's like, no.
Yeah, that was so... He'd kind of come half out, and Bruce would be like, come on! And he'd be like, no!
Leave me alone.
Yeah, so that was how I read it, was like, it's kind of like he won't get back on the horse, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was amazing with Bruce Banner wearing the Hulk Buster armor.
Hulkbuster armor.
Yeah. And just being like, it's like being the Hulk, but without having to be the Hulk, basically.
Imagine if the Hulk got to wear the Hulkbuster outfit. That would be amazing.
That would be... I wonder if there'd be like diminishing returns there. Maybe he'd just be the Hulk.
But imagine if it just emphasized your powers already.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Obviously, you probably wouldn't fit in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't fit, but
it would just be the helmet.
They could make him a big ass armor. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, there must be some...
I feel like they must have done that at some point.
And usually in the comic books, they're quite on point with that sort of stuff, because fanboys will be like, well, imagine if this happens.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, the Hulk and Iron Man armor.
Yeah, and they've all been around for so long, they're sure to have sort of tried these things on.
Let's see, Iron Hulk.
Iron Hulk?
Let's see if this is a thing.
Iron Hulk.
Okay, there's not. Let's see, Marvel.
Well, Marvel.
The Iron Hulk. So it's
he does ironing?
There's a Red Hulk.
Yes.
And he gets his hands on the Iron Patriot armor.
Oh.
It's time to meet the Iron Hulk.
The Iron Hulk. So he's a big bad Iron Red Hulk.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But it's not Bruce Banner.
No.
He'd probably just rip it off in a rage.
Yes. Don't confine me. Is the Red Hulk a person as well, or is he okay?
I think it's do you remember the older ones with the general, what's his name with the moustache? General, you know, the one that's trying to capture the Hulk?
Oh, yeah.
General something or another.
I don't remember.
I think it was him that becomes the Red Hulk, because he's trying to figure out a way to destroy the Hulk, and eventually he becomes his own version of that. I'll just see, actually.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's General Ross. I think that was his name.
Because it's weird, like in the old comics, Thor is like a human as well. He's like a crippled doctor.
That was his alter ego.
Yeah, and he turns into Thor.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's weird.
So it's General Thaddeus E. Thunderbolt Ross is a fictional character who appears in the comic books as the Red Hulk.
General Thaddeus E. Thunderbolt Ross.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? The third? Oh, that's a scary looking dude. I think he's been hitting the roids.
He's very red.
He's very red and very veiny.
You're vain.
You think the song is about you, don't you?
And I think the guy that plays, you know how we see the suits having a get together.
Yeah.
You know, the main one that comes out. I think
the William Hurt.
I think he has played Ross in one of the previous ones, which is kind of weird. Or it might be even him, actually. Maybe he's just sort of...
Maybe, yeah, they're saving that one.
Yeah, maybe they've changed them. But yeah, that was a good part, actually, for him.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. They're just brilliant. Yeah. But I quite liked that the Hulk wouldn't come out. I think I also was wondering, like, I think he got a little more evolved psychologically in Thor Ragnarok, and it's maybe like growing pains in a way. Like, he's now enough of a person in his own right that he can get hurt and be scared, whereas he couldn't really before because he wasn't like complete. Do
you think it's sort of those gains stay? Is it accumulative, or is it something that, you know, just because he was in the Hulk
for a long
version
time,
so long that it just came together, and then when he goes back into Bruce for a while, it kind of goes away again? Maybe,
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, does the Hulk like retain stuff? Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's just because he was in him so long that's when he starts to evolve. But then, if he's out of Hulk mode for so long, then
maybe it's back to square, whatever. I don't know. I'd like to think he retains stuff. I don't know, just because it sort of is logical because Bruce Banner does as well. Like, it's just they just switch it up. It's not like I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, even the fact that the Hulk will like speak to him just to say no is like different. Yeah. No.
But he's went back to sort of vowels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have this other beer?
I do. I have to go get it though. It's in the
Oh, you kept it in the fridge. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't really cold yet.
Okay.
Should we pause?
Yes.
Yes.
Pause for thought.
Pause for beverage. Oh, my ears are hot.
And cheers for the drink. What do we
You
have
are
now?
welcome.
Blood orange.
Blood.
That was something I didn't know was a real thing until I was older.
Blood orange?
Yeah, blood oranges.
Love blood oranges.
They're really nice as well.
Yeah,
like
gorgeous.
I must have lived a really relatively food sheltered life. Because I think I've talked about this before, but I was super fussy eater when I was younger. Like to the point where I would only eat super noodles, like noodles that you get in the store, you know, the sort of chicken noodles
Yeah, like
and all that.
shit ramen.
Yeah, like really terrible ramen.
Yeah.
And potato waffles, which you have not had.
No, I need to try potato waffles. We should have some sort of regression
terrible.
session and we can do craft dinner, macaroni and cheese, and potato waffles.
And the dinosaur turkey burgers, that was...
I've never had one of those.
Didn't like them because I was too fussy, but kids loved those ones. It was the turkey burgers that were shaped like dinosaurs.
Oh. My mom made a few times when I was a kid one of those like box chocolate cakes, but it had sprinkles that were shaped like dinosaurs. Really? And that was the best.
Was that the one out of the box? Yeah.
Yeah,
and
or I think you get like a can with
Okay.
the icing and there's like a little compartment with the sprinkles in the top. And I don't remember if she like made the cake or if that came in a box as well.
Did you ever have the one where you could eat the paper on the cake, the little cupcakes?
No.
There's one you have in the UK, and it was a box, and you make it, and then when you put like it maybe like superhero themed, and you put like little bits of paper on top of the cake, and it was edible. I think it was like icing paper.
Okay. No, I never. I certainly ate some cupcake paper in my time, but I don't think it was edible per se.
Trash pandas are going to eat everything.
When I was a little kid, and my friend Beth, who we went to high school together, but we were friends from when we were really small, and we were at like some sort of picnic or something, and she dropped some cake on her dress, and it's just like what little kids are like. And I think somebody was like, "Oh, you've dropped some cake on her dress." She was like, "No, I'm saving it for later." It's like just keeping it on my dress for later.
That's what most men will say with a beard. You know, if they've dropped something in it, it's like, nah, I'm saving it for later. Save face of sorts.
Saving it on my face.
So the last couple of weeks, or even the last week, has been crazy in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Just complete madness and a reversal of what we thought might happen in North Korea, calling it an end, trying to denuclearize the whole state and calling an end to the Korean War, which has been going on for like 65 years, I think. Yeah,
it's gotta have been. Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine.
It never officially ended. Most people don't know that they've always been on high alert, especially at the border, the
DMZ,
and, they're still at war technically because properly. They didn't like sign the sort of peace. Yeah, whatever.
And they're certainly not like, they might not be in open hostilities, but they're certainly not chill. Like if you look at the recent like people being shot trying to cross the border, and and I like it genuinely a few months ago. It seemed like that was going to be like, oh boy, this might be, well,
there was a
intercontinental like ballistic missiles.
There was a former guest on, David McCaffer, and he was talking about what he thinks North Korea wants and what he thinks they will do, and he essentially said everything that's starting to happen.
Yeah, and at the time it seemed like really...
He said the only reason that America is, the North Korea is still trying to get nuclear weapons is because America are stationed in South Korea. So they were just using that as a sort of deterrent from them to try and come in. And I think they're going to try and say, look, you know, you have to get out the country, and we'll open up the border, and North Korea will become part of, you know, Korea now.
Which would be amazing. Yeah, at the time when I heard him say that, like, I listened to the podcast and I thought it seemed really far-fetched, and I kind of thought he was like trying to be contrary. Like, I really enjoyed the podcast and he seemed to know a lot more about it than I do as well, but I was like, really?
Me too. I thought like he was just trying to be, I don't know, like contrary and
transgressive.
Slightly, transgressive. And like what he said was like complete.
Yeah, it's like totally happening. So that's cool. Yeah, what I'm curious about is what's going to happen to the people of North Korea in terms of are they going to be allowed out and about?
What does it mean? You know, does this mean, does a denuclearization mean that the borders are going to be open and it's not going to be a communist state anymore?
Yeah, and I can't believe that, but I don't know. Or
dictatorship, should I say?
Yeah. Yeah, it's way beyond just being communist. Their problems go way beyond being communist.
The way they perceive Kim Jong-un, he's a god.
I think.
Like, he's
oh my
a
god,
god
I have to look.
people.
I never remember. I'm gonna check which one it is.
But he is a god to these people, and how is that? Yeah. How is that going to affect their perception of him when he's seen to be going over the border to then shake hands with the prime minister from below the peninsula, and then it seems like he's not as all powerful as they all thought he was. I mean, they don't think he goes to the toilet, for fuck's sake.
I know, it's amazing.
And
Kim Jong-un, it's him.
Okay.
His daddy is Kim Jong-il.
And the granddad was
Kim Il-sung.
Yeah.
And what a charming haircut he does have. Oh gosh.
The only 3 haircuts you're allowed in Korea.
Yeah.
Well, North Korea.
North Korea, yeah. And that's the thing is I'm also, like, I've seen, like, infographics of, like, the haircuts that are permitted and stuff like that, and I never know if it's genuine either. Like, I don't know.
It could be just propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know really at all. It's just so hard to know what's true and what's not. Like, I don't think...
How much of what's coming out of Korea or even Western media is true about North Korea? I mean, there's no doubt that this is a terrible state as well. Like, there's so much poverty and death and malnutrition in its people as well.
Yeah, and you hear these horrible stories about, like... I've heard a lot of stories about... fishing boats, like, turning up in, like, Japan and sometimes as far as, like, the west coast of Canada, who are just, like,
really,
they think are North Korean fishermen who were basically couldn't get anything and were afraid to come back, so they just died out there. Essentially, like, they find boats with just skeletons on them.
Shit.
So I've heard of that a few times, and it must be
that's where the fog comes from, the movie.
Oh god. But no, it sounds like a nightmare, because they'll apparently, like, because you do obviously sort of your bones get stripped and your skeletons kind of fall apart, so they'll just be full of, like, random bones.
Yeah, they'll all be sort of mixed together, I guess.
And then the story about, like, one of the most recent defectors and all the different sort of parasites he had from, you know, eating stuff you shouldn't have to eat.
Well, it's like there's the what's it? I think it's called Camp 14 is the documentary. Yeah. And it's about it's Camp 14, and it's an internment camp for forced labor.
Yikes.
And it's political prisoners.
Yeah. And
the way their system works is if you are sent to prison for political crimes, quote unquote. I don't know if it's just 2 political crimes or just crime in general. There's the 3-generation system where your parents go to prison. You stay in prison as well, and then your kids stay in prison.
Which is insane. And just the idea of there being forced labor camps anywhere in the world still is crazy.
But the Camp 14, that was a real eye-opener. And I think they said some of it was maybe embellished slightly. I don't know how they knew this, but maybe the guy that the documentary, they get the information from is a guy who escaped from one of these camps. And they interview him in the documentary, and he tells all the horrific stories that went on. And he doesn't even know his dad because it was one of the prison officers. There's just a bunch of that stuff going on.
Oh, yikes. That's dark.
Yeah, because they're born in camp, and obviously it's something to do with, you know.
Yeah.
But I think they're co-ed camps. I don't think they care about that. But he was talking about seeing public executions all the time.
Oh my God.
And basically, if you are even thinking about leaving, they'll kill your parents or any of your relations and your friends so that you won't leave or try to leave.
Yeah.
So you know if anybody runs away, they're killing your whole family.
Yeah. And apparently they're all like really encouraged to report on each other.
Which a lot of that goes on. I think his mum tried to like grass him up as well.
Wow. Yeah. Yikes. So they really like, wow.
Like that's complete mental hold over everyone in a camp. But he escaped, and I think some of the stories they were saying was slightly embellished somehow. I'm not sure how they would know that.
Yeah. And that, like, I do think to a certain extent, it is really hard to know when you just you only get sort of these two extremes of like either their state media and whatever they choose to say, and then things like defectors and possibly, you know, whatever the South has to say, whether or not it's propaganda. I can't imagine they'd be too worried about people from the South affecting to the North, but you never know. People are weird.
Okay, so the North Korean Camp 14 Gulag survivor admits parts of story untrue.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's believed to be the only person in a North Korean prison camp ever to have escaped.
Oh my God.
And it was recounted in a book, Escape from Camp 14.
Mm-hmm.
And he has apologized after admitting parts of his story are untrue. So he's a survivor whose torture and daring escape was detailed in a best-selling book. Mm-hmm. And he admitted that parts of his story are untrue. And he said he may end his campaign against human rights abuses because of his story being untrue, because he's trying to like stop. I think he's part of the UN, where he's trying to stop like human rights abuses in the world. So he spent the first 23 years of his life in the camp.
Oh my God.
And he was subject to forced labour before escaping in 2005. He's campaigned to highlight rights abuses in the isolated North, testifying before a UN commission last year. He's recently changed some of the details in his book. Okay, so he's just changed some of the details. He said that some of them were like too hard to talk about, and that's why he made up some other.
I can understand that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's too bad that he's had to correct parts of it, because it shouldn't, as long as the majority of it is true, shouldn't discredit him, because we don't have any other like insights into what that's like, and just the very fact that there are still forced labor camps and that you can be a political prisoner, that's enough to be getting on with. Like, that's already unacceptable, and it shouldn't matter if
one of the points in the movie was that him and a friend escaped, and one of them was electrified on a fence. And he had to climb over his friend's body to get out this over this fence. Jesus. Now I'm not sure how that would work though, because if a fence is electrified, and if a body is electrified, will that then transmit?
I would have thought so.
Okay.
But maybe
that was what he said. Maybe that's one of the parts he maybe embellished.
Yeah. Maybe it like dampens it a bit, or I really don't know.
Because I'd never walk across someone's body that had been electrified. But if that's your only way to freedom, then you know.
Yeah.
But there is a weird sort of
yikes.
Something similar to Stockholm syndrome, I guess. I don't know if that you could call it the same thing, where you're just so like this is your norm at this point, and just to even think about escaping doesn't even bear thinking about. Like, it's just that your whole life is 23 years being in a fucking prison.
I can imagine being born in a prison, essentially.
You wouldn't know anything else. Yeah,
and it could be sort of the devil you know as well. Like, I'm sure they don't hear that the West is super great or whatever. The South, like, I'm sure they're told.
Have you heard? This Trump guy, he's a real nice guy.
He's a real nice guy. No, I'm sure they're all baby eaters and stuff like that. So I think it would be really, really funny if Trump got like a Nobel Peace Prize for it.
Have you seen the artwork in North America of the Americans in the Korean War?
No.
They're all like these jagged teeth Americans who are eating and killing babies.
Oh, yeah. Because that was part of...
spearing them on bayonets and just eating their babies.
World War II, I think when there were American troops in Japan, a lot of the Japanese had been told that the Americans were like cannibals and all that as well. And so they were terrified of them.
Insane.
Yeah. Like I think there were cases of like people killing themselves rather than
I think that's part of
like
that culture
facing-
though. Like if you're a military Japanese soldier.
yeah. No, but like women and
Oh, right,
yeah.
okay.
Just because they'd been told the Americans were demons basically and that it was better to die.
Could have been onto something.
Yeah, I mean they're not wrong. But
Sorry for any
sorry.
Americans.
I'm a
listening to
North
this.
American.
I
know
love
some
America.
wonderful Americans.
You
but
just have a really ridiculous.
your president's real creepy.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I loved Trump's Twitter and when stuff was coming out about North and South Korea shaking hands and his first tweet was like, this might be great news, but let's not get carried away. And then 15 minutes later, it was like a caps lock tweet about like, yeah, Korea's fine now. Yay. Like it was so funny. It's like, let's not get carried away for 15 minutes and then let's get carried away.
100% he is going to now put this on his CV that he solved Korean World
Oh yeah, totally.
War
Totally.
Peace. Yeah, he
Yeah.
brought peace to Korea.
Yeah.
He's that's going to be on his CV
Yeah.
from now.
And he kind of did elliptically, but it was completely by accident, I'm quite sure.
I think North Korea probably just done it to like screw with him, be like, fuck this guy.
or to screw with the world, like
Well, it's one of the reasons that I've been hearing that North Korea has called this sort of a breaking war and trying to get peace and trying to denuclearize the peninsula.
oh,
It's
you'd mentioned this, yeah.
And it's something to do with the test site that they were testing the nuclear weapons on is starting to like really like collapsing on itself, and they're thinking it's a huge mountain as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a big sort of geological disaster. That'd be really scary.
I just figured out exactly where I saw this. North Korea mountain collapse. That's what.
It's like they finally given North Korea back, but they've ruined it.
So they're saying North Korea nuclear test site has collapsed and may be out of action.
How would they know that?
Well, I think Chinese geologists across the border, I think it's the northern part that has done, which borders with China. And I think the geologists know through
because they've done in the past.
They can tell where,
of course,
and what happened.
Yeah, because they've been able, they think, to detect nuclear tests before because of seismic readings, but they can't really tell exactly what they are either because it could be earthquakes or whatever.
But there's no
big
real
people stomping.
There's no fault lines that go under there, so they know exactly where there would be an earthquake, which is weird.
Yeah, it's quite. I mean, obviously, I wasn't previously under the conception that nuclear weapons were totally fine, but it's quite scary that they register like seismically that way. That's creepy.
They pretty much demolished a mountain because they've been. I think they just didn't have the infrastructure, and there's no infrastructure for setting off bombs under a mountain.
No.
Ever.
No, don't do that.
But I just don't think they could deal with the consequences of doing that. Maybe they didn't have the right safety measures in place, because they'll just be doing it willy-nilly to use the word of the day. Your word sponsored
word
by IAMKAYPEE podcast of the day.
It's
is
willy-nilly. I wouldn't necessarily associate North Korea with robust safety protocols. That's not really their vibe. So maybe. And they don't really have the luxury that like the Western world did of blowing up islands in French Polynesia or whatever. So
yeah,
which is weird and scary.
I was thinking about this the other day. I think, who was it? Someone brought it up. I think I was talking about it to someone. I can't remember who, but basically I've thought of this a few times, and it's to see the flip side of what happened in World War II when the Americans dropped the bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Yeah.
And there was they almost had a third one that they were going to drop if they didn't surrender within 5 days.
Right.
They were going to send one across another city at some point.
Okay.
So that would have been 3, and I think it was 200,000 people that died. I mean, that's a huge fucking amount of people that died in one fell swoop.
Yeah. And presumably those are only the people that died initially. Like the consequences across generations have like, But
if that was the bad guys that did that, this would be the biggest travesty in the known world at this point. Just because it was the Americans that did it, it was seen as something that was preventative.
Yeah. And everyone kind of got on with it. It's sort of like, because
even the Japanese seem to just think, well, this was something that happened in our past, but we're not condoning what we did either.
Yeah.
But
I can't imagine how, because that wasn't that long ago. Honestly, that was really not that long ago.
40, 45 must have been.
Somewhere in there. Yeah. So that's like a lot of people are still alive. That was like just before my dad was born, basically.
But that would be the biggest terrorist act in the world.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
I mean, how many people did supposedly the passengers on the plane in 9/11 kill?
Yeah.
You know, like 1,000 was it? How many people died in 9/11?
I'm not sure. And again, that's the same. It's going to be a bit similar where they have like first responders with like cancer and stuff. Yeah,
obviously there's like,
it's hard to tell like the knock on. And they also have like much more powerful nuclear weapons than they had at the time when they bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is pretty scary. Yeah, imagine that happening in like whatever city in America or England or.
How many people died on 9/11? So 2,996.
Wow,
so
that's a lot.
3,000 people. Yeah. But that's
like a small town.
That's like a 0.0 something compared to what America did to Japan.
Yeah, it's true. And it's crazy that I don't think anybody, well, maybe some people, you know, feel good about that now or like don't see it as having been a tragedy. But I don't think.
It's not even a tragedy, though. It is an absolute misuse of power as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to call in terms of like if they hadn't done that, how many more people would have died and stuff. But at the same time, that is choosing to kill a stunning number of civilians in a oneer, basically.
Indiscriminately as well.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And it's crazy.
Those people were obviously not fighting on the line either, because there would have been a bunch of women and kids.
Oh,
and
yeah.
These were people that
it
were
was
just
all
civilians.
people. It was just human people. Yeah, 100. And you hear, I was listening to a
But they're not doing some terrible stuff as well, the Japanese, during the war, I think.
Oh yeah, there was some like
against
they did
China. They were pretty.
Yeah, China got super brutalized by them.
That wasn't in the war though. That
Nanking,
was
that was a like huge massacre and tons of like rape and just awfulness.
Which is weird. Like that's another example of a small island just completely like going on to like
dominating
take on
China. That's crazy. Yeah. There was some creepy medical experimentation as well, like a la Mangala, like that kind of really horrible. not a la Mangala. But yeah, like the super like don't read about it, you'll have nightmares forever kind of stuff. Like just really, really messing with people. Completely, truly awful stuff. At a certain point, you don't know where to draw the line.
No.
Yeah, I was listening to, I think it was one of the Dan Carlin podcasts, and it was about, like dropping the atomic bombs, but they had, like eyewitness accounts of, I forget if it was Hiroshima or Nagasaki, and it was stupid. I was listening to it on the way to work. I was going to the pit, and I was like, I can't actually listen to this. Like I don't usually run into stuff where I'm like, I can't do this, but we should, like, is the thing is that did happen. And if we don't know about it, I know it's a cliche, but it will happen again. If we don't appreciate how horrible it was. Like there just aren't really words for it. It's just insane. It's not stuff you think can happen just physically, let alone emotionally.
Obviously when you're younger and you're sort of wrapped up in this, the good guy, bad guy mentality, when you're like, even till like when you're like 14, 15, you still see it as just clear cut. But even though just hearing about it in history in school and it still just doesn't sound right. You're like, wait a minute, they dropped a bomb and killed all these people because of this in the war, and it still didn't fly with me. It just felt wrong, even though I was like, well, they're the good guys. And it was like, these are the bad guys.
And I think there's a reason why it's never happened again as well. Like the number of, U.S. presidents, for instance, who could have chosen to do that again and who haven't, in spite of otherwise seeming to be kind of off the rails.
There's been a few close calls.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like we were in a close call pretty recently, Korea-wise.
But there was one where they thought there was missiles coming from Russia.
Yeah, I heard about that on a podcast.
Ready to press the button to be like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah.
And then he waited like a further minute just to make sure that the computer wasn't, and the computer was just like,
it was just like seagulls. But yeah, that totally could have happened. And a few moments in the Cold War when that certainly could have happened. Like my mom, when she was a kid, remembers, you get like safety drills, like what do you do if there's a fire, but they got safety drilled on what do you do if there's a nuclear explosion. And it's like, what you do is you die. Like they're like, you should hide under your desk. Like, unless your desks are like 7 foot thick and made of lead, that's not going to do anything for you.
Stop, drop, and roll. That's
yeah,
what
exactly.
You do
yeah.
a nuclear holocaust.
yeah. Oh God. And that was one of the grimmer chapters in the SAS survival handbook as well. It's like, well, they had like, there's a list of like thicknesses that materials have to be to like protect you from nuclear fallout, and it's not funny, unless you're prepared, it's not going to happen. You're not going to make it.
The stuff that can protect you from a nuclear blast is also the stuff that can kill you as
well.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, don't lick your lead bunker because
put your baby in a lead pipe and then put it in a lead cot and a lead pair of slippers and clothes. Back then in the 50s.
Have you seen those as well from the World War II and they
put it in a microwave? Sorry.
In London, and they had those, like, I don't know if they're genuine images or if they were kind of like a PR thing or whatever, but those sort of like gas protected, they had like prams and stuff that were supposed to protect your baby from like a gas attack, and they looked like little coffins. Really? Really creepy. So there's an image of like a mom with a gas mask on pushing one of these prams. Okay. Super creepy. Yeah.
Was it a gas mask pram?
Basically, yeah. It's like a whole body gas mask.
Have a little look. I love these images.
I'm so untrusting now, though, just of the internet and what it produces. Like, I know I've seen that, and I would have assumed about 5 years ago that it was on the... Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I think so. I think I've seen another one as well, and the pram is even more coffin-y looking. It looks genuinely like a coffin.
The one I'm looking at just now is a woman with a gas mask on and holding her baby in what looks like a Robbie the Robot outfit. Danger Will Robinson.
Oh my God. Yikes.
Just Google gas mask pram, and the first 2 images that come up are
That's weird. I mean, the whole concept's weird, but that's especially weird. It's got like a fishbowl on.
I think this is the one you're talking about.
Shall we? Yes, that's the one. Yeah, it's got a little like vent, like a little chimney. I don't know how that works.
Somehow the baby starts a fire in there.
You have a really staticky baby.
Don't rub your baby on the carpet before you put him in there.
Yeah, do not do that, obviously.
I thought they'd be like worried that people would like spontaneously combust back then as well.
Oh, yeah. I think, it's still not unknown.
It's funny how that's not a thing anymore as well. Like, do you remember growing up, like in the books and the movies of like paranormal stuff that happens? It was always like, you can spontaneously human combustion.
Like, just your leg will be left. Yeah. And it has happened. Like, there are cases of it, but they're usually like, it's not entirely spontaneous. But I remember reading that when I was a kid, and you just have those like couple of days, you feel like at any moment I could spontaneously combust. And then you're like, well, I hadn't heard of this 3 days ago. And 3 days ago, I never spontaneously combusted. So maybe I'll be okay.
But it's not a real thing though.
It does happen, but it's usually not as spontaneous as it seems to be.
No, it's always due to like a something happening.
Yeah.
It's not just them going on fire.
But it is like how quickly it happens that people are reduced to kind of nothing. That's the creepy part. Not that it's like random, but that it's like you're consumed super quickly. And sometimes parts of you are like not at all. So that's weird.
So on Wikipedia, obviously I'm Wikipedia, spontaneous human combustion, so SHC.
Oh, there's an acronym, it must be true.
Is a term encompassing reported cases of combustion of a living or very recently deceased human body. I
have to say I'm not going to lose any sleep over the recently deceased ones.
So without an external source of ignition, in addition to reported cases, examples of the phenomenon appears in literature, and both types have been observed to share common characteristics regarding circumstances and remains of the victim.
So the made up ones and the real ones have stuff in common?
Yeah. So they say hypotheses suggest that incidents that might appear as spontaneous did in fact have an external source.
Yeah. That makes sense.
The likelihood of spontaneous human combustion without an external ignition source is quite low.
Yeah.
Well, stupidly low.
Yes. But I think to me, the thing that's scary is like how quickly someone will just go up and be gone, basically.
I think a lot of the examples were people that were sleeping, on a couch at night or something.
Yeah.
They'd fallen asleep on a chair.
Yeah.
So maybe that would give time to, but you'd wake up and you'd be like, ah, shit, my arm's on fire.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like,
and I think
it was that slow,
Yeah. The ones I've read about are like people basically act as a wick because depending what sort of fabrics you're wearing and stuff like that were made of fat. So,
yes.
yeah.
And you're made of fat as well. You're made of fat as well.
No, I'm not. I'm not a human. We covered this.
Everyone has fat.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, we all have layers of fat.
Adiposes.
All the fats.
Many fats.
One fat or two.
I was discussing with one of my very favorite regular customers is in the bar today, and we're talking about how calories aren't real if you don't know about them. So, like, as long as nobody tells you, you're fine.
Same as the wind is not real if you don't just ignore it.
Yeah, it's just stuff moving. It's weird. Yeah.
It's just a bunch of
like,
ghosts.
Don't tell me. It can't hurt me if I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Like, one of the things that frustrates me is people who count calories.
It's so dumb.
The only reason that you should count calories is if, like, I guess if you're stupidly obese. But it doesn't matter because if you change your diet to where you're just eating clean, it doesn't matter how much you eat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just you're going to lose. If you change your diet, you're going to lose weight no matter what you change it to, unless you're just not eating that same type of food, and it'll come off.
Yeah.
Maybe not at the rate you would like it, but if you choose diet and exercise, then it will have an effect. So counting calories is so benign unless you're trying to put on weight, I guess. Some people, you have to count or you count your macronutrients, which means the way it works is you have a certain amount of numbers that you're trying to fill, and it doesn't matter how you fill it. So you could eat like pizza or kebabs all day, but if you fill in the numbers and that's it for that day, you're not going to gain fat because you've filled that quota. That is a thing, that people do. It's not one that's necessarily popular because,
sounds like hard work.
Well, you don't want to eat shit all the time because you will feel like shit.
Yeah. No, I think that's when you look at, like, I feel really sorry for, say, anybody who's really overweight and is trying to lose weight, because if you're told, oh, you can only have X many of calories a day, like, that's not enough information about nutrition, and it's going to be a huge bummer. And if you're eating enough to make you full and not be super unhappy of, like, good food, you're going to be fine.
But there are people who are addicted to food, it's just,
for sure.
It's the addiction that you have to treat as opposed to the source as well.
Yeah. And as we've talked about before, that's a really hard one because you can't go cold turkey on food because you'll die.
Ironically enough.
Yeah.
Cold turkey.
But like I was thinking about, like, you get those like little yogurts that are always marketed to women that have like no fat and like tons of sweeteners, and they're bullshit. Like 43 calories a pop, and you're like, so cool, I can eat like a bunch of these. And that's my calories. But that's one of the biggest scams, gonna do it for you.
One of the biggest scams in the food industry is low fat and all that nonsense. That we know now, and it's clear to everyone. Like, just do any research that fat is not bad. Even saturated fat's not bad. You can eat fat. It's like the sugar, not everything.
Yeah, and
it's
the refined sugar.
Yeah, it's terrible for you.
And honestly, like, if you're not eating a ton of fast food and you just chill out on refined sugar and, I hate to say this, but booze, you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to be fine.
What?
Not that I'm going to stop drinking.
Hey.
A ton. Yeah.
We're not stopping drinking.
No one's stopping drinking. I'm so glad you're drinking beer again also. You lasted for like a little while.
Well, I'm bulking, so obviously
so you can drink all the beer you want.
Well, not really.
Not really, no.
It will affect my performance more than
the
weight side of it, but when I go to the gym, but it's not something I worry about.
I don't want to drink a million beers anyway. I want to have like 2. And then I can get back on the wine when you're not bulking. And then we can taste wine.
I think and it depends on your sort of body type as well. There's people that just struggle to put on weight. There's people who put on weight just instantaneously when they look at a fucking piece of cake. It's like,
and I like, partly because I'm pretty, like, I'm not like active in terms of I exercise a lot, but I'm always like walking, and I don't exercise. I used to run, but I've had sorry guys, ingrown toenails for so long, and I just never get like a good window to run.
That was like a toenail down a chalkboard to me.
Yeah. But I walk like
a raptor.
Between work and stuff, I walk about 10 kilometers a day usually, and I don't like eating crap food.
Yeah.
And so if I don't drink, I don't keep weight on, basically. Like I don't, it's just ridiculous.
But you don't eat enough. You don't.
I mean,
you don't eat frequently, and you
I do when I'm home. It's just when I'm at work I can't really eat.
But still though, like you don't eat. I think you need to eat more regularly. Yeah, I
make up for it on days when I can though. Like I eat all the time when I'm home.
Yeah.
It's just at work, and I don't have the option to. Like I can eat when I have a break. I can't eat if I don't have a break. So yeah. And then it's like if I'm working a shift all evening and I get home and it's like midnight, I don't want to eat then.
Yeah.
So
yeah, true.
But usually
it's the pain of working in the service, and
it's a bummer. And I'll have like
late, and you come back and you're just like, well, I'm hungry, but I don't want to go to bed with a full stomach. Either.
And I get like a break. I get dinner there. So I usually have like,
I think if you did some sort of working out or whatever, you would just gravitate to eat more. I think your body's
probably.
I think your body's just running on. Like,
well, I'm like always hungry as well, but I don't like to eat a lot in the winter either.
For what you do, you're eating in tune with it, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and I'd rather eat no food than crap food, because I think a lot of people in the hospitality industry get into like, well, I'm finished and the only thing I can do is like get a pizza or like get chips or whatever, and I'd rather just like
chips.
You
never have chips.
No,
like
I don't.
Real chips or North American chips?
No, real chips. I like North American chips. But no, I don't like, I just don't, I honestly, I'll eat somebody else's chips. I don't want to pay for them because I just know they're not doing anything for me, basically. So, unless it is curry chips and rice, which I used to think you were insane for eating, but then you introduced me to it, and it's actually the shit. I love it.
Well, this is like one I've had since I was maybe I can't remember. I think I was 8 or 9 when I got introduced to it, and I used to do pantomimes when I was younger. Yeah. And plays.
Explain pantomimes for people who aren't British, because it's a weird one.
It's basically like a really sort of camp and very terrible humoured play centred around like Aladdin or Dick Whittington and what's his name? Thingman the 40 Thieves.
Oh, Alibaba.
Yeah. Like really terrible, campy, over the top stage props.
So it's like simultaneously directed towards 5-year-olds and grandpas, like pervy grandpas, and that's it.
And the jokes are terrible.
Oh yeah, but that's the point, is they're supposed to be, and it's funny. You laugh at the terribleness. Yeah.
But I did that when I was younger, growing up, and I think that was when we were like on our obviously they have a break halfway through where you have tea and coffee,
an intermission,
and you do the raffle.
The raffle, of course, the raffle.
And I would nip to the Chinese in between that just to get some food. Yeah. And someone introduced me to fried rice chips or French fries but like
they're chips, so they're like chunky.
Yeah, they're like we have chips from fish and chip shops. Yes. Which are chunky. They're not like your French fries. Yeah. And with fried rice chips and curry sauce, and so I have this thing, and it's just how I was raised, but like I don't get eating like that many starches. But it's like, so I don't need chips. I have rice, whatever. But the first time we had it, I was skeptical. I was like, oh my God, it's such good comfort food. It's honestly, it's so good. Yeah. I mean, there are terrible versions out there. I'm sure. Yeah. Another one is chips, cheese, and gravy, which is essentially your poutine. Yeah. And I always I associate chips, cheese, and gravy with just like being super drunk. Yeah. So I prefer poutine. Yeah. But like the chips, the cheese is like the mozzarella cheese. Yeah. And with poutine, it's cheese curd. Yeah. And I think it's a lot better because it like melts really nicely. We still need to have a proper poutine. No, we're going to go to Canada. We're going to have a proper poutine. We didn't even get poutine the last time we were over. We did, but it wasn't good. No. We got like it as a side dish at like a gimmicky. Yeah. Smokies have you been to Smokies? No. I don't think you have. No, I haven't. I used to get my poutine from the New York Fries in the Eglinton Center food court, and honestly, it was really good. So Smokies is the shit. Yeah. I went there when I was in Hamilton, not Scotland, the Hamilton that's in near Toronto, and it was just that'll brilliant. Be the one. Yeah, not the musical. Toronto. So yeah, crazy time in Toronto recently as well with this person. Yeah. Have you read any more about this guy? I haven't heard anything more about it. Was it the guy that ran over like a bunch of people in his van? Yeah, in a rental van, and he killed
10 people and a further, I think 13 were injured.
And was it just he drove down the street, like a random street?
Yeah, he was like climbing the sidewalk, and he was going at a really high speed. And it seemed like a few things have come out about him, but I think they're keeping quiet now.
It's gay.
I think the opposite problem. I think he was straight and horny, and nobody liked him. I mean, I don't want to like be sassy about it. It's really sad, and you don't do stuff like that if you're all together.
Yeah. Are they putting it down to just having a sort of? Is that a narrative they're pushing, that it was him sort of not interacting well with women?
Well, that he was part of, or at least peripheral, good Lord, peripheral to the group who refer to themselves as incels, or involuntary celibates. And that was a guy who did one of the many shootings in America. He was one of them. And this guy, the Canadian guy, had referred to this guy on social media.
Incels is.
So it's involuntary celibate is what it stands for. And it was coined by a woman who has nothing to do with any of this in like maybe even the 90s. And it's been adopted by, and basically it's supposed to be a group of young men who aren't successful with women in terms of, again, celibate in terms of having sex with women, and seem to generally blame women and more quote unquote alpha men for this.
I've seen some documentaries or shorts on YouTube about it, and it was the group was mainly sort of geeky guys who are Dungeon and Dragon type people, and they just they can get nowhere with women.
Yeah.
Like they just, like you see them walking up and just try to have a normal conversation, and it's not happening for whatever situation, and it's not the women's fault, obviously.
No.
And it's not their fault. It's just the way the chips have fallen, and and they're these kids that I'd seen were just proper geeks. That's all they were, but it's kind of escalated into this sort of more like toxic, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though I hate that word,
but I think if you're going to call anything toxic, because I think it's I think it's one of those things, the expression, if you can't say it, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Like if this hadn't been coined as a group, I think it would just generally be, oh, I can't get laid now. Hopefully eventually I can get laid, but it's turned into this thing, like it's super misogynistic. It's really disturbing. It's not
like that though. They're not like originally it wasn't these guys saying hopefully it'll happen. These guys were like on the boards that were talking about suicide.
Oh yeah. But what I mean is like originally if these guys hadn't gotten together and decided it was a group and there was a name for it, it would just be this is shit. No. But again, there are girl nerds. There are girl nerds who can't get laid too, and you just need to connect, guys.
There's no such thing as a girl that can't get laid.
Well, that's the thing as well.
Sorry,
there are girls who can't get laid by people they want to get laid by, but no, it's true. It's not.
Is there any girl that's had that problem? There is no stereotype of a girl geek who doesn't who can't get laid.
Well, the problem is it's when you can't get laid by the people you like. Like it's still the same, and that's what these guys mean as well. I don't think they realize that they mean that. Like I think totally
the original one was like that. This was the early 90s. I've seen this on a short on YouTube. I'll show you it. I didn't even know it was in connection to this guy that had eventually went on to do this. Yeah. And they were basically they were like really, really smart guys that just couldn't interact with women properly. Yeah. And they thought they were doing it right, but they maybe were slightly autistic or even like Asperger's, and they couldn't for the life of them interact with these girls properly. Yeah. And I think it's a couple different attitudes, and maybe I'm not gonna say this for sure, but guys who are from kind of a gaming background, you're kind of taught that if you put the right input into something, you get a certain output. So if you feel like you're putting the right input, because it's the same as like I can see where you think that, because if it's life should be just as easy as using a controller for a game. Mean easy. No, but like it's sort of like if that's your reference point for interacting in life, you should just be able to like the pickup artist type thing. Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, like is you're taught, you put certain input into a woman and they will react a certain way, and so you're entitled to that reaction. During the 90s, there was a whole industry, and a massive one, with books and online videos and seminars and people, was it pickup artists? Yeah, well, that's still going as well. There's still pickup artists doing seminars and stuff. And then basically they were trying to put in a certain comment. Like every woman has a basic line of code
Yeah.
in them that if you strike that with them and how you talk to them and make them perceive you and show value and all this nonsense, then they would just be instantaneously be up to you.
Yeah. Which is, if you think about it, like really depersoning women. Like it's gross. But aside from that, it's, I think, you know, the feeling of like when you're trying to do something on the computer and you're doing it right, but it's not working, and just how instantly outraged you get. Like I get like,
start clicking it.
It's not like you're trying to pay for something online and it just like loads forever and you're like, what's going on? Oh my God. And imagine feeling like that just all the time socially, because you're like, I'm doing the things, I'm hitting the buttons and nothing's happening. I
mean, I get where, not where this guy's coming from, but the original idea of this, you know, the what's it called?
Involuntary celibacy. Yeah.
I get where they're coming from.
And it sucks. Like, yeah.
When everything in your society is geared towards sex, geared towards getting a girl, geared towards, you know, getting a mortgage with someone, starting a family. Yeah. And you can't even get past the first.
You can't get your foot in the door.
Yeah, you can't even get your foot in the door, and you can't get past the first base. You can't even see the first base from where you are. Yeah. And your whole life's just that. And
that would be super frustrating.
I can see where that leads to, because when young men start to feel disenfranchised, then that's when you get danger. Yeah. You know, when you feel like you're just getting nowhere in life, and especially something as just basic as a need is having company. Yeah. That is like a huge thing. Like,
and I think that's
have you ever like not had a hug for a while, like months and months? I've had that. There was a time between a relationship where must have been like at least 2 years before I had like a proper hug from a girl again. Yeah. Just through various means, like I wasn't my choice. It wasn't like I was pursuing not to, you know. It was
there was other stuff going on.
You know, I was busy and I was working, and then eventually I moved to Toronto in between that time. And I remember I had a hug from someone, like a girl, and I was like, wow, this is like what you're supposed to feel. Like, it wasn't anything like crazy, and it wasn't like a sexual thing either. It was just like, wow, I've not felt that embrace like for a while.
I think it was like when I first moved to Edinburgh and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't, you know, have the money or sort of wasn't in the right place to like go home and see family. But you know, I saw friends, but you don't really have that kind of contact for a period of time. And I think maybe ultimately that might, well, I can't speak for these guys, but that might even be a bigger part of what they're missing as opposed to just sex.
Probably like, they don't think they're missing it.
Yeah, but it's just like,
maybe they assume that touching is sex, or having sort of like intimate relations is just sex. Yeah. But you don't realize that until you've done all those things. Like you go through the foibles of growing up as a teenager and having sexual relations and knowing what's a mistake, what you like, what is sort of appropriate, what's not appropriate, what you feel is like you're able to distinguish sex from just intimacy, which is different. You know, those are two things.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something that you figure out when you're growing up. Funnily enough, somehow, you know, as a teenager.
Yeah, you just work it out and you try stuff on. But for these
guys, they've still not got past that. I mean, I'm not condoning anything that the later versions of this thing has done, but I'm just saying how it got started. Yeah. You can see where it came about from, I guess.
I can totally see where it came about from, but I think that other than obviously like extreme conclusions like this guy in Toronto and the whatever his name, Elliot, in the States.
Okay. Is that another guy that
he was the shooting guy? I'll have to look it up. I can't, honest to God, there are so many mass shootings in the States that when I heard about this one, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of familiar.
Yeah, it's getting to the point now where you're getting all your shootings mixed up.
Yeah, it's like, what? Which one? But I think it's when it turns into these guys blaming women and like dehumanizing them. And obviously,
it's not a healthy place.
No, it's gonna get really, really ugly. And it's really unfair. Obviously, I mean, life's not fair. But
even if it's not really, it's just a thing to grab a hold of and then be mad at. You know, And then if it's towards women, who's like another part of
Yeah.
the species, then that's when it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
Because that's a person, not a thing, not an ideology either.
You can't like help being a woman.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes severely dangerous.
And I think it's especially kind of ironic in terms of, especially as we've been seeing now with all this Me Too stuff coming out, like a lot, not all women, but a lot of women are constantly pretty nervous about what the men around them are going to do.
How do you mean?
Just in terms of like the likelihood of being like sexually assaulted by somebody you know, like it happens really a lot, or just having to deal with people shouting at you out of cars or trying to touch you on the subway. That's not like a thing that happens to a few women. That is a thing that happens to the vast majority of women. And it's really funny to then hear these guys being like, you know, oh, these women won't let us touch them. And it's like, okay, so Elliot Rodger, so he murdered a bunch of people in 2014 in the University of California, Santa Barbara. So he definitely...
When was this? 2014?
2014. I remember he shot a couple women and then murdered a couple men as well.
I can't even remember this.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are just too many. Like 2014, that was like 48 shootings ago. Like, I don't remember. But apparently he's they refer to him as Saint Elliot. He's sort of like a figure in that community. Yeah, figure. Exactly. Because he was killed.
Wow.
Like really? Suicide by cop,
That's
basically.
Crazy how sort of devolved it's become.
Yeah, it's weird. And they've, like, I was reading about this a bit because I'd sort of heard of this before, but I'd forgotten about it. And that one of the, I think it was Reddit, they had a INCEL forum and it was shut down because they were like advocating rape, basically. Wow. Yeah.
Really? Why? I thought it was like an involuntary thing that they're doing.
Well, they're involuntary as in they don't want to be celibate, right. And I guess one way of not being celibate is to rape people, but
I
don't.
I thought it was just that they know that they can, and it's just something they've given up to.
No, I think some of them tend toward that side of things, and others tend toward the more outraged and misogynistic and violent side of things.
That's a really dark part of the corner of the internet as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Reddit's a weird one because there's some brilliant forums on Reddit. I just
meant like the...
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
But no, Reddit...
Yeah, Reddit's funny because it is a cross-section.
Reddit's brilliant because they're usually really on top of these types of things springing up. Yeah. You know, and they will shut these type of things down.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And they also have like really good forums on wine and stuff like that. And they had a whole other subreddit that was like monitoring the incel group as well. Wow. Yeah, which is interesting. Probably didn't help out some of those guys a lot if you're getting also mocked, but...
What do you do though? What if you're a company that has something like Reddit or is Reddit, you know, another forum-based type website? Yeah. What do you do when these types of things spring up on your forum? Like, do you just, when you see some of the really worst of what's been said, do you then just like delete them and that's it? Or do you have to then try and help these people? Or do you then have to, I don't know. Do you then have to forward the information to the police? Or do you have to touch, you know, make base with these people to then, you know, I mean, what is the solution? Just to like ignore it? Or do we you have to like make an attempt to help these people as well? Because it's clearly is something that they need help with. Yeah, and just taking something away from them doesn't seem. But at the same time, not what they're going through is the sort of struggle, but their mental struggle as well. Is what is the real symptom. It's not the actual they can't have any sex. No, it's that obviously because there are a lot of people who don't always get to have sex when they want to, but it's just the place you get to be in mentally. And it's really like it's crazy that sex can drive us this far though. Yeah. Like, well, men especially, like just the not having something physical can then lead to like a group like this to spring up and then advocate like horrific things done to another person. Or equally just like, oh, we might as well kill ourselves. Like, it's so sad. It's like, oh my God. It's either sex or we kill ourselves. Yeah, but, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of mocking it, but I understand as a guy, like I can see where some guys who just, their luck is just completely out on them all the time. And I'm not saying like it should escalate to where it has. No, of course. I just understand where these people come from, and it should be something that's sort of addressed and helped. You know, that you should help these people. But how do you help them? Do you just, you know, is it a psychologist or prison time, or is it like they have to, you know, do community service or something? I feel like
as long as nobody's done anything wrong, like therapy is probably a good starting point. Not drugs, therapy.
But is the therapy, like, what's therapy for people who are angry at not having sex? Is it
I guess like
prostitutes or,
well, I mean, maybe like, I mean, you can always, I guess, not going into it super angry because that's not going to be fun for anybody, but
you might get like a whole Jack the Ripper type situation on
exactly. Yeah, and that shit happens as well. But I guess strategies for coping, basically, like working on your self-esteem and working on your ability to communicate and just sort of why you're feeling like what you're feeling like just where you're directing your emotions to. Are you being too harsh on yourself, or are you directing them towards women or like other men you think are more successful than you in an unhealthy way? I guess just trying to use that energy like productively to make yourself into the person you want to be.
And I assume a lot of these guys are sort of people who are in their basement somewhere in their mother's house, not doing anything physical. And that's work on your self-esteem, get out there. A huge one for guys is to do something physical. I mean, even if you are a geek or a nerd or whatever, that doesn't detract from the fact that humans need to exert and do physical exercise.
Go be a nerd about archery for a bit or something. Like, just find something that you can
put all that virgin sex pent up baby butter focus into something productive.
Because I think the best thing people can do to make themselves more attractive to the people they want to be attracted to them is just like be better in yourself. And I don't mean like have more money or get a gym body. I mean just like don't hate yourself.
Well, the thing with the pickup artist thing is,
oh my God,
you're trying to emulate something that you want to be. Like you're trying to emulate that you're successful. Go be successful.
You know exactly.
What I'm saying? It's like change yourself because it's obviously not working. I mean, I don't mean be someone completely different.
You can't be Chad, but maybe
just
you can be
the best version of your fucking self.
And
be the person that you're trying to emulate. I'm trying to, like, there's a quote out there, just to take, Joe Rogan, obviously. And he says, be the hero in your own, your own story. And that's what you try and strive to be, because that's the best version of yourself.
And I think it's also like, I know it's like really hard to do, and especially when you're young and you don't know when the good stuff is coming, but often the best things happen to you when you're not chasing after them like a maniac. Like, just chill, work on yourself, don't do it for anybody else, do it for you, and that will be the person that's the most attractive version of you.
I think that goes across the board, male and female though.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
There's a lot of people out there that try to chase and try to act like they're the person that they think they are, or they want everyone around them to be fooled that they're this type of person. And you know yourself that you're not. Like I know I've seen these type of people. We both know people like this, male and female. And they want to put out energy that's not, and when it's not real.
It's like not on the level.
Everyone can guess, and some people don't know and understand, and maybe they get in relationships and that person finds out that they're not really that person that they were projecting, and they have a lot of issues that they're hiding behind, and then that becomes like, oh, this is not the person that I thought you were, and it gets in the way of everything else as well. And I think genuinely taking the time to work on yourself and not try and hunt for anything is at the same time,
and I think
it's a huge part of life. I mean, it's hard when you get married, it's hard when you have kids, and it's hard when you're trying to find a good job, and it gets in the way of that, but it shouldn't be at the cost of your whole life, And
I think a lot of the process of sort of like becoming who you are is trying on different stuff, and not all of it's going to fit, and that's what you do when you're younger, and you figure out what's phony. And
but there's people that don't grow out of that.
No,
there's
for
people
sure.
that just can perpetuate that cycle of doing that, and they never get anywhere in their life.
And I think some of it, talking earlier about like times when you're single for a long time, or when you're maybe somewhere new and don't know a lot of people, actually it's brilliant time because you get to know yourself a lot better. And that doesn't mean that's all you can live off forever, but you do, I think, need to take some time and just try to get comfortable in yourself. And if you just keep distracting yourself with other things and other people and trying things on and putting them down and whatever forever, you could just keep doing that, and you're not going to be a well integrated person. You don't have like an internal kind of locus of identity. And I think you do need that, and that doesn't mean you're not allowed to change.
No, of course.
I think that's also a thing, is that people get cranky with their friends when they change, and that's not how it should be.
I think, I mean, I love Scotland. I've said this before, but I think the UK and Scotland especially, they don't like when people sort of try and better themselves. Sometimes like the general, like your friends, you know, there's a lot of people that want to go out every weekend, get smashed, have a few drinks, do a few lines of coke, and then work from, 48 hours during the week.
Yeah, rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. And when people try to get out of that sort of monotonous cycle, they don't try and drag them down, but it's not something that they're trying to like, oh, like you're doing really good, we're going to give you a hand and all that. But I think we're very selfish as people sometimes, and it's like, well, if I'm not doing well, you can't do well either, and I'm not going to give you a hand at all to succeed. Or
alternatively, if you're doing better, that means I could be doing better, and I don't know why I'm not, so I'm going to frame what you're doing as bad, basically.
When someone's success reflects that you're not doing that great, it's not a good thing for some, well, not a good thing, it's not a good feeling to see that reflection and see that you're not where you want to be, and it's a hard truth to swallow.
It is, and it's hard to feel like you're worse than somebody else, but we're all going to have moments.
And how do you stop that? You start bringing that other person down. You don't give them, the hand that they might need at some point.
Which is unproductive. And I think like it'd be nice if we could, I think maybe, I don't know country by country, but I've certainly been in communities, like even on my master's, where for some reason the group vibe, people get that somebody else's success isn't your failure.
Yeah.
Like there's room for everyone to do well and be happy. I
think Scotland has the potential to be one of the best countries in the world.
I think so.
For one reason or another, we always just sacrifice ourselves, like self-sacrifice. It's self-sabotage, should I say. Yeah. And it happens a lot, like with Brexit, with, well, not Brexit, because we voted not to leave, but like to leave the
independence,
independence. We just said no, and I think that was our opportunity to be our own country and prosper,
find your own destiny. Oh God,
because we have like really great, like we have a huge artistic scene, and so people were always inquisitive. I mean, I hate generalizing about countries and things like that, because it's all made up bullshit. There are pockets of places that obviously retain ideas like this,
and communities are real. Countries are lines on a map, but communities are real.
These are all precursors to evolutionary tracks. I think is like you say, like communities, like when you seclude yourself, then that goes down a path that eventually leads to a different part of evolution, I guess, eventually, like thousands of millions of years down the line, if it was to stay that way. And I think like
people don't stay that way though. People are horny. They want to go to other communities.
But that would happen if you were a primordial soup, That's how evolution, like, it becomes groups. It becomes like a little thing, and if you leave it long enough, then that's when it becomes a tract of itself.
I see. I gotcha.
But no, like obviously, I think communities and race and thing is precursors to all those types of things. Like long way down the road. Like like if you leave, do you know what I'm trying to say?
I'm not sure how like race is.
Like if you were to, like, obviously there are different genetic indicators in different races. So obviously the Chinese physically look different from black Africans or an Inuit, or no, that's not a good example. The Swedish look different from Southern Americans. You know? And I think those are all pockets that have came from first it being sort of a community, maybe, and through time, if they've just happened to be left alone long enough, then that evolves into something like that's more concrete in that group, if you know what I'm saying. And then if they were eventually to be left like just like that, but like you say, it never happens because other people intervene, I think then that goes down a different sort of evolutionary tract. I think that's what's happened in the past.
Like what kind of evolutionary?
Like being, like, obviously it has to be left long enough, which we'll never experience because we're always just, there's a some sort of like person pillaging and coming in
Yeah,
from
or
a
you want
different...
like trade and stuff
Yeah.
as well. Like,
Yeah, but I think we are the remnants of those sort of things that happened with like different hominins in the back, you know, in the
Yeah.
past. Like we created like individual sort of little cultures
mm-hmm.
that eventually went down into separate sort of, not separate, but like fingers in a sort of like the roots of a tree, I guess, you know, that just went off slightly because of their,
Yeah.
even just geologically isolated or anything that
Yeah.
created a different divergence, but
Mhm.
if left long enough would become like a whole thing, I guess.
Okay, it's too hypothetical for me.
No,
the whole thing. Yeah.
I'm completely hypothetical,
Yeah.
and I'm not.
I
like,
just don't like that. Doesn't sound healthy to me, honestly.
How come?
Like, you need to take in other people's, like, when you do shit like that, you get North Korea. Like, you need to take in other people's ideas.
No, true.
Yeah, but just genetically as
you're-
well. It's not really
no,
good.
yeah, you're talking
Yeah.
about like civilization. I'm
Yeah.
talking about like actual like back in the day, if
Yeah.
left long enough. I'm just saying that's the way it naturally would follow it, I guess. I'm just spitballing.
So just like, if a group was isolated, it would be isolated,
Yeah.
basically.
No,
Yeah.
I think like
I don't mean to sound dismissive. I just don't quite.
No, like
yeah.
it's something I've been messing around with in my head for a little
Okay.
while. It's not something that's like, I was just thinking like, I think culture and race more so because that's been shaped by other things,
Mhm.
but like what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. You're going to have to tell me.
I can't remember. What were we talking about? Adult
Like-
ADHD, my arse. No, like I think like culture and like pockets of civilizations
Yeah.
are sort of precursors, like are the first indicators of maybe like a genetic evolution going down different paths. I think that's how
Okay.
I think that's how they form and congregate together for it to then become a thing. I'm just like spitballing
Yeah.
with it though.
No, because there's like mutation and
Yeah.
stuff as well. Like
Of
that's a big
course.
part of
Oh,
change is
that's
going to
a
come
huge-
from within as
That's a
well as
huge thing,
without.
yeah. Yeah, but I
Um,
think that then lends itself, like a group that stays together like that will then form some mutation because of their environment, and that
Yeah.
will become the indicator of it.
Yeah.
But when you pocket together like that through culture and through what's the word, like cities and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like you just isolate yourself, that's when it becomes easier for that to become a thing, I guess.
Like for what to become a thing? I'm still.
Like those, maybe like a random mutation that
Oh,
become,
okay. Yeah. Because some of them are literally random as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
But there's ones that are factored in by your external sort of like geography.
Yeah.
Or
And
the
then you
weather.
select for those
Yeah.
things when you're.
And
Yeah.
I think like when you pocket together, obviously that allows for those things to come into being.
So to get like more specific.
But yeah. Like
Okay,
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. Like everyone becomes more specific.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, okay. I think I got
You know what I'm
now.
saying? Like
yeah.
something I've been. I know I tried to get
Yeah.
down a really long way.
Yeah. Because it's just
something
like
I've been messing around in
I
my
still
head.
don't think it would be like healthy.
No, of course.
Because things change as well. Like you don't want to.
Laura, we know that everyone comes from Adam and Eve.
Oh.
We're all born out of incest. So whatever you say
I don't mean
is
like
nonsense.
Okay, so think of it as like the equivalent would be a monoculture in a crop. So
Okay.
you adapt to only suit this really specific environment, but then
Yeah.
your environment changes and then you're no longer suited to it anymore and you're going to die out, basically.
But they're not in a contained environment though. There are going to be external factors.
What do you mean external factors? I'm
Like-
just like, what if you like evolve to live really well in wet conditions and then there's a drought?
But
like,
those monocrops are going to adapt to external forces like a pest or something like that.
yeah.
But
they're not-
They either do or don't. So that's just, we don't hear
Like-
about the don'ts. We only
Yeah.
hear about the do's.
But the thing is, like, if you have a monoculture, like, let's say your country only goes rice and it
Okay.
relies on exports, and then
Yeah.
there's a rice blight and you have no rice,
Yeah.
you're just fucked.
But there are going to be strains that survive.
Kind of maybe, but
Okay.
maybe not enough to keep you from being economically ruined.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like what if it turns out you're all susceptible to this one disease?
Yeah.
And then like, let's say 90% of people die, but that's still too many people.
But what you're talking about has happened for the last however thousands of years and managed to survive.
Yeah, like kind of. But let's take the like old world tribes in North America. They kind of managed to survive even though they didn't have immunity to European diseases.
But everyone came from, they think there's a bottleneck in population, I think, around 12,000 years ago. And they think even maybe it was as low as 1,000 people
Yeah.
were around in some part of Europe. and that still evolved from that.
Yeah. But sorry, just back to what I was saying was that group of people did survive, but their civilization basically crumbled.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a good survival.
No.
And that was like a really big, rich, diverse group of people, even relative to like what you're saying. And it still was a downfall being isolated, basically. Yeah.
But it's just spitballing.
It's interesting. It's just hard. Like it's such a hypothetical because there's like no conditions for it to ever happen. So yeah, it's interesting though. Yeah. How did you end up thinking about that?
I'm not sure. I just think about like culture is real. Civilizations are real and race is real. And I'm thinking what would be the sort of the factors that bring that about and why it is a legit thing. Because some people say that it doesn't exist. Like culture is irrelevant. Humans are all just the same. I don't know. Like people, when you try and say, when it comes to when there's a lot of racists out there and they say like, oh, this person's from a certain place, they do a certain thing or they speak a certain way or they are at a certain IQ. You know, they're saying like that culture means that then they are going to be doing certain things or, you know, like saying racist things.
Yeah.
So there are people who are on the left who say it doesn't exist, you know, so humans are all just human.
Yeah. I've heard that in terms of race before, but not in terms of culture. Because then like you can't explain differences.
I'm just like sort of like generalizing with it. I'm not being specific with the race and culture. But like that sort of thing that's...
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I mean, like culture to me isn't what we are; it's what we do.
So I was basically just saying, where does it come from? Out of like, because it is real.
Yeah, like why are certain people a certain way? Like why is Scotland a certain way?
And what happens if they're allowed to continue down that path without interruptance?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's going to be genetic diversity. But,
and like foreign policy.
Societal is a real thing as well. Like societal measures and influences. It doesn't have to be just physical impact. Yeah. And that can be something that shapes something in a way that if it wasn't touched or just left, it could go down a random path as well. And eventually it will lead to some sort of evolution.
Well, like things like with genetics and stuff, we actually can measure that. But things with like culture, that's much harder to define. Yeah. So it's interesting.
But culture's not been around for as long as it would need to be for it to have that sort of effect on evolution, I guess.
No, I'm not. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about like why is Scotland different from England, basically, or whatever.
Well, we know why. Unicorns.
Just like of course, because of unicorns. But like genetics aside, the thing is like if we wanted to map genetically why Scotland was different from England, we could do that, and people are doing that. But if we wanted to say why Scottish people feel differently about, you know, say the EU than English people. You can't. First of all, it's a generalization, but second of all, that's really hard to measure.
Well, take there was a recent study done, and they said that coming from Dundee and speaking Dundonian is just as good as speaking 3 or 4 languages because of the brain. The way it marks is like you speak normal English and the dialect. Yeah. Imagine if that has an effect on your brain. Yeah. Which then most Dundonians, because they have obviously used that part of their brain to sort of be able to, maybe they say they're smarter somehow or they're just more proficient than people who are in England who don't have that same. I mean, eventually that could lead to something somehow in the form of evolution, I guess, if left long enough, just because that Scottish group are slightly different from the English group. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you could, like, if you
I
see what you mean. If you theoretically isolated that group in those circumstances and all of that stuff, that they could turn out. Yeah.
We're just talking done like a long time, though.
We all know what it is, though. Porridge.
So we were in a pub one night, in a little pub, and what was it? The Scottish Nationalist Trust were actually in, and are you going to the bathroom?
I'll stay with the story and then I'm gonna run.
No, you can go.
Okay, cool.
So we spent the night in a hotel down in the borders. No, not the borders.
Yeah, in
Ayrshire.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's a hard one to say. And yeah, so basically the Scottish Nationalist Trust we're in. I think that was like
We were in this tiny wee pub
Yeah.
that was part of the hotel.
and they were all sort of drinking and having fun, and we got
Yeah.
talking to them eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this really, really, really Scottish woman.
Yeah.
And she was like talking about how we have to vote, you know, and whatever,
Yeah.
in the upcoming elections. And she was like
Be
really
strong.
She
Yeah.
loves Nicola Sturgeon, which is
Mhm.
the First Minister of Scotland. And she was like, well, you know how Scottish people are so smart, and like where do they get it from?
Yeah. And I was thinking like history of like, oh, they stopped being Catholic early on, so they were allowed to do like proper medical schools and stuff like that.
And I think we both kind of leaned in slightly, and we were like, oh, this is going to be good, because
Yeah.
we love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, looked at us both. She was like, it's because we eat Scottish porridge oats. And I was like, I think we both laughed.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what's the real one? And she's like,
No, really.
Deadly
Yeah, it's aminos or whatever. Because you know when somebody like I assume because she was like in her cups at this point. You know when someone has like a whole thesis,
yeah,
but like
Yeah.
all of this, and probably there was like nutritional stuff and cultural, and also, but it just comes out as like porridge.
yeah, she didn't preface it at all.
No, it
was
was
like,
really
no
funny.
pretext. It
That was a
just
really
all-
funny night. Yeah, that was the Archie and his sausages.
Well, talking about posh people,
Yeah.
obviously everyone's going crazy for the royal couple, William and Kate,
And their baba,
and their baby, their third
Yeah.
one.
Third baby.
I didn't realize they had a third baby.
Well, that's the right number of children for them to have. That was what everyone said they would do, and that's what they'll do. They won't have any more. It's too Catholic.
There's been a bit of a renaissance in the interest in the royal family in America, I guess, for some reason, and it's
They've been like super digging the royals for a while.
well,
I don't
that's
know
what
why.
I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
that kind of disappeared for like a couple of years, and then when William married Kate,
Yeah.
it's kind of sort of
Yeah.
reignited, and it's kind of weird. Like, they love and they just want to hear everything about what's happening.
It's weird.
And yeah, so obviously I think the main focus has came from America with the media, and we're feeling that as well. But I don't. Who cares about it?
It's just like I just don't want to have to care. Like they seem nice.
Yeah. If
It's
anybody
just such
thinks
an
of
outdated-
themselves as a royal, you know, imagine you think of yourself as a royal.
Ugh.
Like you must.
Ugh.
That is
Ugh.
your baseline is to think that you are someone higher up or better than that person.
Yeah.
By birth.
Yes.
By
or
birth.
marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage.
But still,
It's weird.
well, no, they're not going to marry someone who's a pauper.
No, but not another royal in the case
Well,
of say
no,
Kate.
no.
Yeah, she's a
They have
civilian.
done.
Yeah.
They have
Oh,
done.
they sure have done it. That's how you get the Habsburgs. That's how you get people who can't shut their mouths. Because speaking of mutations,
Or Charles,
yeah. Oh God.
the big-eared boys of the farm.
Yeah, I love that. I say this to you, but on Veep, and they refer to Charles as a 60-year-old fucking intern, and I think it's the funniest thing ever because it's just his vibe. He's
Yeah.
just dithering.
No,
Like
totally.
everyone's waiting for him to die, basically. Like
Well, he's waiting for his mother to
yeah,
die.
and then he's gonna get like everyone as soon as he's in, people are gonna be like, oh my God, when is it gonna be William? So
And we were kind of debating the sort of logistics of what Camilla, his
Yeah.
wife, is going to be called, and then essentially Kate, because she'll be in the same position.
Queen consort.
But they've both not been divorced, so it's different with Prince Charles and Camilla.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Like the whole, it's hard to look. It's sort of like when you talk about like which religions are more daft. It's like, well, they're all made up and they're all
Yeah.
dumb. But the dumbest part of this one is that they actually do
Yeah.
care about whether you've been divorced or not and whether you're Catholic. They can marry Catholics now, but a Catholic can't be the queen or king, which is so funny.
But like you said, what about Muslim?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. Or like,
Well,
Flying spaghetti
I said
monsterists.
to you that's why there's conspiracy theories, and that Muhammad al-Fayed,
Yeah.
the father,
Dodi.
thinks that he was killed because they didn't want a Muslim in the family, because
Yeah.
obviously he'd be part of the royal family.
Yeah, which is weird because she was divorced anyway, so
Yeah.
he
But
wouldn't really
she's-
be.
Well, no, because her sons are still going to be
Yeah, that's
like
true.
princes.
Yeah.
So he's part of that family
Yeah.
group. So
It
that's
still
crazy.
seems a stretch, but
Yeah.
the whole thing is a stretch. So that's the thing as well. Is like I can't say that's daft because the whole thing is daft.
Yeah.
So it's funny though. Yeah.
Anyway, I think like that's pretty much.
Have
We're done. Yeah, that's like almost. Well, it's over 2 hours.
Is it?
Yeah.
Jeez, Louise.
Yeah.
Wow.
We started at 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I know it flies in when
Time
you're
flies.
having fun.
Yes.
And I'm very hungry at this point.
I'm
so
really hungry as well. We're gonna make some shakshuka.
Possibly.
Possibly. We'll
But
discuss it.
yeah, we will.
Cool.
At a later date. No.
In 2 minutes.
So as always, what is your socially acceptable social media?
My socially acceptable media is I've got basically art, wine, and travel on my Instagram, which is LAURA_Z_HOPE. I'm on Facebook as Laura Hope, but I'm just a normal person there. I'm not too public, so yeah.
She doesn't have any hope.
Nope, hopeless. Entirely hopeless.
Go check out her artwork and her Instagram because it's fantastic.
Thanks.
And you can find me anywhere to do with IAMKAYPEE.
Anywhere. Under toadstools.
Too many E's on the end of my IAMKAYPEE.
Yeah, varying E's. Varying degrees.
Anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and
yeah,
peace.
Cheers. Peace.